Hello. Sorry for the delay. I was getting my coffee. I had to like wait for it to be ready and stuff, you know? I had to like wait for coffee to be finished. I had to wait for that heated water, and I had to, you know, get the coffee. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to the stream. My name is Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I am a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting, and I absolutely love working out. Yippee! Hi, guys. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well today. Hi. Oh, we have a birthday? Happy birthday! I was debating singing, and then I decided to intentionally break my voice there, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe not the full thing, you know what I'm saying? But hi guys, I hope you're all doing well today. Happy Tuesday. For me, it was a Saturday. It was a lot of voice acting today. There was a lot of voice acting. Whoa. Turned 22 today. Hey, legitimately, happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. I hope you got lots of cake. I hope you got to enjoy yourself and everything like that. Hi Narina. Hi Jungosa. Let me scroll up and see if I missed anybody, because I was on starting soon for a few moments there. Guys, if you have not already, please. I know that we were waiting, but don't longer wait. Don't be shy. In the words of my friend Porcelain Maid, feel free to say hi. Skater Boy Reki, Narina again, Hot Tree Iza, Azlaya. I feel like I always butcher that. Sugar Fairy, Angel Scarlet V, Jungles again, Herbert Slender Man, Rogue DT, Emily, Katsuki Lover, Deku, you damn nerd! Something like that, right? Thorn, Siren the Goblin, Tree, Nightmare, Wolf and Dove. I think I caught up. Fairy Love, Marmar, Mochikiomi, Zephyr, Herber. Oh, I know a Zephyr, but it's an axe. Unless you're an axe. Faye Frost. I'm just saying hello. Collect my pride flags. I mean, listen. Pride flags do be pretty bussin' for real on God. I fly that pan one, but I don't love the colors for it. I miss the bisexual flag colors when I identified as bisexual. I miss those colors because purple is one of my favorite colors, and I no longer have access to purple. I'm sad. That's why I collect so many purple VTubers, clearly. The coffee should have hurried up. It really should have. It really should have. What's up, Reki Garu? All right, I'm going to scroll all the way down and see what you guys are saying. Let's fully catch up. Hi. I'm here too. What's up, Mage? Can't join the rest of the stream. I have a driving lesson soon. Hey, no worries. Hey, take care. I hope you have a fantastic driving lesson. Good luck. Got a hair trim yesterday. Got layers. My hair is so much lighter now. Let's go. Hey, we love to hear that. Ooh, I got a new conditioner that's like lemon and mint. It's like the stuff that they used at my barber. And it made my like scalp tingle in like a good way. It had like a really refreshing feel and smell to it after. So like I took a shower today after I was done all my voice acting stuff. Let me tell you, I was gross. I was so disgusting. Oh. And yeah, I just feel so refreshed after that, you know? But yeah, I hope you guys are well. Undead Breaker. Thanks for the follow. Welcome in. What's up, Cherry Milk? What's up, Smiling Din? Not feeling well? Just gotta chill and listen. Hey, of course. Always welcome to listen. Come vibe, thrive, and survive with us. Have a good time with it, you know? Did I turn my sound back on? I did. Good. Thanks for having fun streaming. Thanks. Goodbye. See you on Friday. You'll make a pancake. Yeah. No, I made the joke too. I made the joke to Jun, my manager, about it. And I was like, yeah, it's just gonna be a pancake. And then someone else made it to me too. And I was like, yes, that was the joke, because I get to make a 3-layered cake. So that's gonna be fun. I got the food color dye, so we're gonna make a 3-layer cake on Friday. I think it's just gonna be me. I don't think anybody else was joining, so I think it's just gonna be me. Still don't have any of my flags. One day. Belmore! I finished my classes. I have half a week till summer semester. Pray for me. Hey, you got this. I believe in you, Belmore. Wait, did you pass all your tests and exams and everything? I know you were sweating on some of them. I hope it all worked out. Hey, big love, buddy. Big love. Yup, let's go! That's my goat! That's my goat right there! Oh my gosh. Gonba Belmore. Oh, he gonba'd all right. He gonba'd real hard. He gambate parade all over the place. I also passed my exams and classes. Let's go! I love to hear it. Celebrated Pride a little bit. I really enjoyed the parade. Nice! I don't know if there are any parades. I don't know if there are any pride parades. I try to combine those words. Jesus. I don't know if there are any parades here. I'll have to look up to see if there are. I don't have a car, so traveling to one's a little bit more complicated, but I will definitely see. So that's a good point. You know what I mean? That's a good point. I like that. I definitely like that. But anyway, guys, in case you didn't check the schedule, today we are watching videos. It's movie time. Movie time. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. So if you guys didn't already see, one of my favorite franchises of all time is Resident Evil. Ironically, I think I just might be a Capcom shill because I also love Street Fighter. I also really like Ace Attorney. I also really like Devil May Cry. So I'm just stuck in their clutches forever. I'm excited for Onimusha that's coming out too. Man, I'm donezo. They got me. They got me by the jugular. Anyway, so we are going to be watching a Resident Evil retrospective today. It is made by the awesome channel Your Favorite Son. I reached out to them on Twitter to make sure that it was okay for me to react to their content on YouTube and on Twitch and everything like that. So, and they gave me the okay. Yippee! Love our son. Yeah! So if you guys hung out with us on Discord and you watched us watch all of the kind of recap Yakuza story videos, this is the same YouTube channel that I ended up really liking from that. So thank you to Belmore for introducing me to them. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that they were super receptive on having me watch their stuff. So our collective son, the world's child. True. True meow. But if you guys want to check out the original video, it is in the description of the YouTube stream. So Repro! Speaking of almost birthdays, I'm watching you, Repro. You can't tell when I'm doing the eye thing where like I point to my eyes and then point to you, but you can't like. That's what I'm doing. I don't think the yippee emote is quite right. Oh, with the green falling. Yeah, for some reason it keeps breaking. It's fine. We accept it how it is. We accept it for how it is. I think I actually might have a fixed version and I keep forgetting to upload it. Should I look at that now? Hold on. Galaxy. Wait, where's Galaxy? Where the hell's Galaxy? This should be in my DMs. Hold on a second here. Why can't I find them? I'm gonna have to find them after stream. Do they just have a different name on Discord? I guess they have a different name on Discord. What the frick? What the skibbity? What the shigma? Man. Now I'm sad. I have no idea where that message is. Because they definitely gave me like a fixed version. Maybe I even have it and I just forgot to upload it. Anyway. I like it broken. It is very funny. It's fine, by the way. I'll simply explode after I age. No. I forbid you from exploding. Galaxy After Dark is their name on Discord. I cannot for the life of me find them. In my DMs. Maybe he just doesn't want me to find them. Galaxy After Dark. Message. There we go. That's so weird that I couldn't find them. Okay. They did, in fact, send me a better version of the Yippee. I do have a better version of the Yippee. Hold on. I'll fix it. I keep forgetting, and then hearing Repro mention it, I was like, oh, right. Galaxy did send me this. Hold on. Shout outs to Galaxy. Roy Chi Yippee fixed. Okay. That should work. And then emotes. And then we remove Roy Chi Yippee. We remove it. Trash it. Delete from library. Delete emote. And then we're going to upload new animated emote, because I'm a professional. I can do this on the fly, guys. I don't know if you guys knew this. I'm a gamer. I know how to do this stuff really easily. Never mind. It's too big. I can't do it. Never mind. It has to be under 2 megabytes, and it is not under 2 megabytes. So for now, it is going to be broken. It will be broken until further notice. Oh well, I tried. Want me to compress? It might run into the same problem though, because I don't know where the problem comes in that it has all the green coming in the background. I'll message them after stream. It's not the end of the world. I didn't mean to throw off your rhythm. What rhythm? Guys, do I have a rhythm? Chat. Chat. The only rhythm that I care about is apple. 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 How is it score 1 to 10? I wish it were a little juicier. I'm gonna give it a 6.5, 7. 6.5 or a 7, one of the two. It's not bad. It's edible. I am not displeased by it. It could be significantly worse. It's true. It's true. Decent apple, true. Do you prefer sour or sweet apples? I like sweet. That's why Honeycrisp is my favorite apple. Also, in case you guys saw it yesterday, what Belmore is referring to in the Twitch chat, lagging in a video game throws you off though. Yeah, I went back and watched that clip like 4 or 5 times. I even showed Purple, where the game lagged last night in my one life Project Zomboid stream, which you can check out on YouTube if you haven't already. And I lagged, and that's why I died. I was so heartbrokenly sad. I have an idea of why it's not liking the compressed form, because the confetti is probably flickering between 1/2 pixels constantly. I will take your word for it. I know you have delved into that region before, and you definitely know more than me, Reprise. I'll tell you that much. We still gotta watch that. Oh yeah, you guys still gotta watch it. It is an insane stream. That was a very fun stream. I had to learn how to forage. I was eating like caterpillars and berries in the woods, and then I found poison bugs. Oh wait, no, poison berries. Shit was wild. And then I found bourbon, which was apparently the cure to depression, which was very ironic. It made me less depressed drinking bourbon. Just like me IRL. This is a joke. Those are signs of alcoholism. Get some help. Wow. Project Zomboid YOLO challenge. I mean, we basically did. Oh, wait. Yeah. That's basically what it was. I had to think about that for a second. My brain did not compute. What's up, Red Dragon? Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. It was hilarious. Yippee! What's up, Vacant? Hope you're kicking butt. But yeah, guys, who out here is a fan of Resident Evil? We got any Resident Evil? Oh, Bird Up! Oh my gosh, it's Kumi! Kumi! Oh my gosh, Kumi! Hi, Kumi! Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders! My name's Roy Chiato. Like a macchiato, I am a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting, and I love working out. In case you couldn't tell, you know, by the bulging muscles and the bouncing pecs, in case you couldn't tell. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. So happy to have you guys here. Welcome. Kumi, how was your stream? Guys, if you don't know Kumi, they're an awesome content creator, and I met them at, I keep wanting to say TwitchCon, MomoCon. Like, my brain did not let me move away from TwitchCon for like the entirety of what I was about to say. Kumi, I hope you're doing well. I hope you got home and situated well again. I mean, clearly you did. You were streaming, so we love that. Hey, thanks for bringing everybody over. What were you up to tonight? Welcome to the gun show. Population me. Bam. We eat butter. Kumi, are you force feeding your viewers butter? What happened? What's this? What happened? She gave us so many injuries. Oh. I was doing American Truck Sim in VR. In VR! Wait, I actually kind of want to do a stream like that, but I want to drink while I do it. Legally drink and drive. I'm sure it'll be great, right? Nothing could possibly go wrong. I was hauling a load of butter. I got freaky with it. Little freaks! You guys a bunch of little freaks? Whoa, I didn't know. Whoa, I had no idea. Whoa, Kumi, I didn't know you were like that. Whoa, listen, you could have just told me that you wanted to get freaky with the butter. You know, I would have dropped playing Skeech in a heartbeat. Listen, butter? Sign me up. Listen, butter? Anyway. Guys, welcome to the stream. If you guys don't know me, like I said, my name's Roy Chiato. Tonight we are watching and reacting to a video that I've wanted to react to for a bit. I do a little bit of reaction content every now and then. I tend to try and wait to get permission from the person that created the video itself, just to make sure that they are okay with me reacting to it. So we are going to be watching a Resident Evil retrospective by Your Favorite Son. Yippee! So Your Favorite Son is a YouTuber that does kind of like story recaps and retrospectives of like behind the scenes stuff, sales, voice acting, like all stuff about these games. And it's super freaking cool to see. I watched their entire breakdown of the Yakuza franchise. I was hooked. It took me like 10 hours to get through the Yakuza franchise. Super freaking good. So if you guys like Resident Evil, you definitely picked a great night to come in, because I'm going to be pausing the video to stop it and kind of interject with the stuff that I know. I don't know about as much as I do about Power Rangers, but I'm still going to try and interject with the things that I do know, and then just geek out about things, because I love Resident Evil. We just went over this before. It is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I am absolutely a massive Capcom fan. Resident Evil is one of my favorites. I'm a big Street Fighter fan as well. That's why I'm kind of hoping that I get into the Sajam Slam, and I'm hoping that he announces who the slammers are and everything like that soon, because I really want to get in. I was unable to participate in the last Sajam Slam because I was at MagFest, so I was a little sad, but I am hopeful that he will bring me back so I can put the fear of Jamie in everybody. Who's your favorite Street Fighter character? Ooh. See, it's weird, because it's like I didn't play Third Strike enough. So I played DJ in 4. I played Ed in 5. And I played Jamie in 6. because I don't like how different DJ and Ed are comparatively to their previous versions, which is weird because Ed is a way better character and DJ is also a way better character, and I don't like either of them. So I played Jamie, who is, I think, decidedly a bottom 5 character. I know patch notes came out today. I'm going to be reading them probably after stream because I don't think anybody wants to hear me read patch notes. So, hey, thank you for gifting a sub to Flapjack Jackson. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Nothing to do with who I main, but my favorite is Rainbow Mika. Ooh, nice. Yippee. It's hard because I really like the twins, Yun and Yang. I really like Yun. Yun is probably my favorite Street Fighter character because I just think he's cool. I think Genaijin is like a super creative super, and it'd be really, really cool to see him come back into Street Fighter 6. But because we have Jamie, I don't think we're going to see either Yun nor Yang. So it does make me a little sad. It does make me a little sad because I love the twins. The twins are some of my favorite. Yeah. I don't know who else I'd want back though. So mine's been Sakura. She's easy for me to learn. There you go. I think Sakura does have some relatively easier learning capacities. Relatively easier learning routes. Hadouken. So true. So true. I'm so glad we could come together on this. Never played Street Fighter. Only actually fighting game I played was Killer Instinct. There you go. Yang was one of my first cosplays. Well, that's dope. Seeing the hair would have been sick. But yeah, love Street Fighter. Love Resident Evil. Love Devil May Cry. Love Ace Attorney. And very excited for Onimusha. So yeah. Oh, I should mention, I wasn't ready for it to be announced because I don't think anybody was. Nobody was like preparing for the state of play to happen tomorrow, the Sony one. I will be reacting to that on Discord. If you guys want to come hang out in Discord and have a little watch party while we watch the Sony state of play tomorrow, please pop in. We're going to hang out and we're going to watch it together. Yeah. It'll be great. Yeah, exclamation point Discord in chat. 18 plus Discord. We don't do any, there's no lewd stuff in there. But I do want you to be 18 plus. Okay? I'm watching you guys. All right, let's take another bite of this apple. I asked earlier, do you like Beautiful Joe and Okami? Both. I wish Beautiful Joe would come back because I've been getting more into Kamen Rider as I've gotten older. And Okami, I didn't 100%, but I got really close to. And yeah, absolutely. Freaking love both of those games. We're getting Okami too, which is crazy. Oh, I'm so freaking excited. Now on the Beautiful Joe, now on the RE engine. I don't know how that. I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'd hope that they just keep the hyper stylized, like, you know, visual aspect of Beautiful Joe. That'd be nice. I cried for Okami too. I mean, it seems pretty good. Like, I'm very excited that's coming back, but I'm also excited for Apple. Apple. I can't wait to see you play Ace Attorney. I want to go through the Apollo Justice games, but I don't have them. If they go on sale anytime soon, I might scoop them, but I know I'm going to get Elden Ring Night Rain, and I might try and play that on stream next week. I might try and kidnap Vanta and another friend or two and just see who is willing to play Night Rain with me. Because I've never played it and I'm not familiar with Elden Ring too much, but everybody playing it makes me really want to play it. You know what I mean? I mean, Vega and a couple others. That said, I'm more partial to NetherRealm. Oh, I get you. I'm in the same rider getting into Kamen Rider. I'm in the same boat getting into Kamen Rider. As I've gotten older, trying to get back into Sentai. I've been loving Gojuger. I keep getting Gojuger stuff like spoiled for me on TikTok, but like I don't care. It just feels like I'm living through the zeitgeist of it just naturally coming across my timeline. You know what I mean? Last Street Fighter I played was 4. 6 is pretty good. I really enjoy 6. 6 is fun. What's up, BSB? Hello. Now, guys, are you ready to watch some Resident Evil? Do I have any Resident Evil fans in chat? I got any Resident Evil fans in chat? Where are my Resident Evil fans in chat? Where am my Resident Evil fans in chat? Where you guys at? Where you guys at? I'm not seeing enough of you. We're gonna need.
Dream about watching Power Rangers. Weirdly realistic. I could give EP names and numbers.
What?
Never watched Power Rangers outside of your streams.
Holy crap. That's crazy. I'm going to Fan Expo Toronto in August to see Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Todd Habercorn. Oh, that sounds like fun. Hey, awesome. That sounds dope. Present, ready for movie time. Movie time! Can I get some movie time? Resident Evil, you say? Yeah. Resident Evil time, you know what I'm saying? It's so good! All right. Let me get the video prepared. Hey, thank you for the 50 bits! Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Here we go. Shoo-ba-da-whip. Make sure I'm in like the proper position for this. So, like I said, I don't know as much about Resident Evil as I do Power Rangers, but I am absolutely going to be giving it my all to kind of break down, talk about things with Resident Evil, things that I really like. Maybe do some like moments of like not knowing anything, you know? No, Kane, that doesn't help. I got a dartboard ad. Oh, is it ad time? I'll give it a second. I'll wait for ads to be over. Twitch, let me know when you're back from ads. Let me know when you're back from ads, guys. I want to be safe. I want to be fair to everybody. Resident Evil, you mean Hello Neighbor? Huh? I still want to play that other game. It's like Resident Evil, but they're like with the Muppets. Oh, ads are done? Okay, cool. Cool. Thank you for telling me. Good timing with the music and everything. All right, cool. Let's begin.
Resident Evil is a powerhouse.
Yes, it is.
A juggernaut.
I love Resident Evil.
In the gaming space.
Yeah,
its
absolutely.
History allows it to, slightly inaccurately, lay claim to the survival horror genre as a whole.
I love that they say inaccurately, like claim fame to the name survival horror. And it used the name first, survival horror. It just wasn't the first in its genre. So it's like, I say it's the godfather of survival horror. I think that's a fair assessment, right? Yeah. My Friendly Neighbor, yes. I think, Belmore, did you buy that for me? I was just looking at it the other day because I kind of want to buy it. I think Belmore bought it for me.
It is the
A Silent Hill. Wait, hold up. No. I would 100% say Resident Evil is the godfather of survival horror over Silent Hill in a heartbeat. I love Silent Hill, and this is not about which one's better, because I think both of them do different things better. But if we're talking about title or prestige, I think Resident Evil is the godfather of survival horror. It doesn't mean it's the best, but it is the most iconic. Never played Silent Hill? You should. Silent Hill is a fantastic franchise. While I am really, really happy that Silent Hill 2 remake was really well received and was fantastic and may have been my game of the year of last year. I need to go back and think about that. What else came out last year, you know? But I'm sad we didn't get Silent Hill 1 and that there's not really a good way to access Silent Hill 1. Shout out to Kat, who rated yesterday, Cat Link. So anyway, sorry, enough pausing.
The single most popular video game horror franchise to date, with a variety of numbered.
Is it? Wait. Is Resident Evil still more popular than Five Nights at Freddy's? This is a legitimate question. Not to nitpick the video, but like, I don't know, man. Five Nights at Freddy's is like more. It might just be because it's more modern. Because like even like globally, I guess you could like point out and say like, because Resident Evil has like, what is it, like 6 or 7 live action movies. It has 9 or 10 main series games and a buttload of spin-offs dating back 30 years. So, and Resident Evil's at a good place right now. So Anyway, that saddens me. The only game franchise Capcom that has sold more copies is Monster Hunter. Oh, okay.
Entries, spin-offs, adaptations, novels, and comics.
I wonder
It is
if
a
they'll be
titan
covering
that
both.
refuses to fall with the ebb and flow of the market or time.
Or if it's just
it stands
original
resilient.
Resident Evil.
And with that in mind, this series has managed to mostly pass me by over the years. I played an entry here or there, put a few hours into some of the recent games, played the originals when I was a kid, but I never really took the time to dive into
I love the
games.
Look at this
Played
zombie.
the originals when I was a kid, but I never really
Amazing
took the time to
enemy
dive into
AI. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, it's so crazy. Rather than people, I think better world would be loved or applauded. It could be. Rather than popular, yeah. It could be. Dino Crisis? Dino Crisis is another one I'd love to see come back. I never played them myself, but I've watched plenty of people play them, which is crazy. You know? Resident Evil HD Remaster and 4 OG will always hold a special place in my heart. Grew up with them. Nice. Give him a break. He's dead. No. No breaks.
its
You
depth.
don't see me just... You know? I'm on my first cup of coffee for the day. Okay?
Having now played the first game in the series multiple times, I can safely say that I get it now. Resident Evil as a
Good.
game and not a franchise is imperfect. It has
Yes.
blemishes, marks that cover something that is aspiring to be.
I agree.
And would become a piece of chiseled marble.
Yeah, Resident Evil 1, which if you guys weren't with us a couple weeks ago, we actually did go through the Resident Evil games. I don't have any of the art left over. I guess I just deleted it all. I guess as soon as I was done with the game, I was like, let me just get rid of it. My bad. But we got art for our Chris playthrough of the original game. We played through as Chris on RE1 and then Jill on RE1 Remake. And yeah, we finished those last week. We did RE1 Remake last week with Jill. So if you want to check those out and see my opinions as I'm playing through them, check them out. Cool time.
Its design is impeccable, particularly in environments.
Yes.
Weaving hallways and narrow passages drift purposefully through a home that's easy to get lost in. The
Absolutely.
pre-rendered backgrounds leave nothing to the imagination, implying little and showing everything.
It's also crazy because like the fixed camera angle like idea for Resident Evil is always so wild. Because like even going from like this Resident Evil to Remake, the camera angles are so important because obviously like we have like a layout, you know, we have the floor layout, but being able to pick how each and every shot looks at all times is always really important. It's why if you look back at like the PS1 Final Fantasies with the pre-rendered backgrounds, you get to look back and go like, whoa, this aged really well looking at some of like the really nice pre-rendered shots, especially on like FF9. FF9, I think, in background design has aged incredibly gracefully. And having that control over the angles makes it so they can tell more compelling situations and stuff like that. Some of the rooms have awful wallpaper. It was 1998. Well, it was 1996 for the game's release, but the game takes place in 1998, so give them a break, okay? Give them a break.
But this game is supposed to be the father of the survival horror genre. And if a survival horror game
More like Godfather, but yes,
is supposed to scare, then Resident Evil scares incredibly well.
it does.
The fear and horror come not only from the monsters that we face, but they permeate the very mechanics that the game insists that you interact with.
True.
The horror comes not only from staring down an infected creature and having the guts to pull the trigger, but from the bowels of the game itself.
I will also say, I don't think I ran into it that much in Remake, but I ran into it like 3 or 4 times in Original where like I thought there were no enemies. I'd be like walking down a hallway. I'd be like trying to figure out what's going on. And there's just a hunter jumping at me. And I know Thorn's here. I see you, Thorn. Thorn clipped that where I was like, damn, I can't believe I killed that hunter only taking 1 shot or 1 hit, you know? And as soon as I was like, yes, I did it, another hunter jumps at me from off screen. And it was like, it is now one of my fondest memories playing Resident Evil. My goodness gracious. I wouldn't say Alone in the Dark is the godfather and RE is the father. Survival horror takes more from RE than Alone in the Dark, but at that point we're getting into semantics. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I will always say like Resident Evil is the godfather, or like the source, the looked to source. It may not have done it first, but it was the one that people really wanted to like kind of imitate, you know? Just like isekai anime, you know? A lot of people looked at like Sword Art definitely wasn't the first, but it sure as hell popularized it. And as much as I love Dot Hack, and it hurts me to say that it wasn't Dot Hack that brought isekai anime to be like incredibly popular, Sword Art definitely did it. Sword Art 100% helped make isekai incredibly popular. So, yeah.
Resident Evil has fear and tension woven into it like stitching put into a fine fabric.
Ooh,
I
like that.
Has attached itself to the DNA.
All right, let's not get too crazy here, son.
Of the thing, and manages to become one with it. It is inescapable.
Okay.
Though elementary at this point in the series, Resident Evil's story is simple and strong. With solid themes and characters.
I love seeing this. This is when Chris goes into the save room that's down there for the first time, and it's Rebecca going, oh no! And she screams it. Like, the voice actress must just not have been given any like context as to what was going on.
Promise more to come.
Yeah, she
screams. Never takes itself too seriously. Resident Evil is a special piece of history, marking the beginning of one of the most popular and successful gaming franchises ever, but it's also special on its own. Many people have already talked about the series over the years, and as I write this review, I am plenty aware of that. But after becoming enamored with the first entry and doing everything I can to immerse myself in its world, I set the goal of trying to bring something new to this discussion.
I think that's really good too. And like we've talked about this ad nauseum, that like me as a Power Rangers fanatic, and I usually react to like Power Rangers related content, reach out to creators, making sure that it's okay. And we even had Connor on the stream last week to really dive deep into the things that we love, opinions, answer questions, things like that. And I think what your favorite son just said, the idea of, I know a ton of people have done this already, but I love this thing and I really want to talk about it. So I'm going to do it, and maybe people will get something new from what I said. That's the right mentality. And that's like the big thing that we want people to feel, want people to see, want people to think, that kind of mentality. That is perfect. It's great. It's exactly what you want. The voice acting is the of all time. True. Absolutely. 100% agree. I keep hearing about Dot Hack. Should I probably watch it? So Dot Hack is... Oh, God. Can someone make a Dot Hack retrospective so we can talk about Dot Hack Sign, Dot Hack Infection Mutation, Outbreak Quarantine, Dot Hack Roots, and then Dot Hack GU Rebirth, Rebinus, and Redemption, please? Thanks, because I have a lot to say. And I don't want to talk about the novels because then we're going to get too much into it, okay? We don't need to talk about Another Birth or XXXX, okay? I love Dot Hack. Dot Hack is also one of my favorite franchises, but that franchise is unfortunately very dead. CyberConnect 2 really, really wants to bring it back, but Bandai Namco has said multiple times that it is not a lucrative series, which I think is fair. They have to think about the games that are going to do well so the company can stay in business, you know? So, yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do today.
Yippee!
As I talk about 1996's Resident Evil. I'll be talking about gameplay, story.
Oh, are we only talking about the 1996 one? Whoa. I thought they would switch between the two. I mean, that's fine. We finally did play this. But hey.
Mechanics and everything.
Nostalgia for Dot Hack, yeah.
If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it and subscribing to the channel.
Already
as it really
did.
Helps me out. You can also follow me over on Patreon, where I provide updates, early access to my videos.
But do you provide
and
Apple
content from time to time? It's me, your favorite son, and today I want to talk about Resident Evil.
Yippee!
The story of Resident Evil doesn't quite begin with Capcom, but a film director named Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
I love how, like, the more you look into some of these games from, like, the 90s, they're like, Yeah, actually, the director watched this thing they saw in the 80s or the 70s and, like, got inspired by it. So that's the actual sort of, it's Sweet Home, it's whatever other thing, Alone in the Dark, it's whatever else you can think of, Hi, Sakura, we're doing well.
Kurosawa was an up-and-coming director in the Japanese film scene and directed projects like Kandagawa Pervert Wars and 1985's The Excitement of the Do-Re-Mi-Fa Girl. Though Kurosawa's popularity would not truly begin to surge until the early 90s, our focus here lands on a less assuming project.
I'm not familiar with those.
Sweet Home.
There we go.
Sweet Home was the title of a 1989 film that Kurosawa wrote and directed.
That's what I know.
Distributed by
Listen, guys, don't ask me, okay? I don't know. Listen, my knowledge doesn't go that far back, okay? I know about Sweet Home. I just talked about it. That's all I know. Don't ask me about Pervert Wars, okay? That's not my cup of tea. All right, I'm about killing zombies, drinking coffee, maybe flexing occasionally. Anyway.
Toho, the film centered around a film crew exploring the mansion of a famous painter and documenting their findings.
It's crazy.
This heroic journey is fraught with setbacks from the start, with the crew being denied entry into Mamiya's mansion. The place is said to be cursed, but the crew makes their way inside anyways and comes to find that this curse is real.
I know, Belmore, I know you're joking about doing a Pervert Wars stream, but I think watching Sweet Home at some point could be pretty cool. Because I've actually never seen this. I know there's also a K-drama, I think, called Sweet Home, where, like, people in a Korean apartment complex slowly get turned into monsters as well. But I might need to look that one up. Because I think I watched the first season of that, and then a second season came up. Anyway.
The mansion turns out to be a sprawling place, dilapidated and filled with enemies around every corner, but they find what they're looking for, the paintings of Mamiya. The film is full of striking special effects and vicious imagery. It isn't what I would call a masterpiece, but it is the start of this story.
It is.
That's because
then it got turned into a game.
Developed, so was a video game adaptation
of
the same name. The game was even advertised in trailers for the film. It's clear that the goal was to generate more interest by creating a second wave.
Why is it always when I do horror stuff that it starts thunderstorming outside? I just heard thunder through my headphones. Bro, every time. Every single time we're doing anything horror related, there's just a thunderstorm going on outside. I hate it here.
Way of experiencing this horror piece. The game, Sweet Home, for the NES, was published by Capcom and was released almost a full year after the release of the film. The director of the game, Tokuro Fujiwara, had worked with Kurosawa on the game's development. He was allowed to tour the film studio that the team used and was ultimately given freedom to change the story the way that he wanted to.
Which is, I think, like, the game Sweet Home ended up being, like, so not even related to the movie that, like, most people don't even talk about the movie. I only knew that there was a movie, like, maybe like a decade ago. So, hi, welcome in.
Sweet Home sees us playing the team of 5 characters exploring the Mamiya mansion. It's a JRPG in the classic sense and requires full collaboration from the different members of the team to explore the mansion effectively. Fujiwara had mostly developed coin-operated arcade games up to this point. This was one of his first forays into the home console market.
It's perfect ambience for horror. It is. Yeah, that thunder.
The graphical capabilities of the Famicom at the time.
Is there a way to watch the movie? Ooh. Maybe. I don't know. Belmore, let me know. I'm sure there is. Like, I'm sure it's not that hard to find. You know? The character sprites like nothing like the movie characters. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. I have it. There you go. Easy peasy. When in doubt, Belmore it out.
Well, if Resident Evil is one of the fathers of the survival horror genre, then Sweet Home is the primordial ooze that Resident Evil was birthed from.
Wait, I like that. The primordial ooze. But even then, there's Alone in the Dark as well. So, like, there's primordial ooze to, like, amoeba to father.
Though truly that ooze consists of more than just Sweet Home.
Yeah.
It is the only game that is directly connected to Resident Evil's development.
I mean, yeah, because, like, Alone in the Dark had nothing to do with Resident Evil and didn't influence it. It's just that Alone in the Dark came out first, you know? Where does Parasite Eve fit in the scale? Parasite Eve isn't for like another couple of years, because like Resident Evil 1 came out in 1996. I think Parasite Eve came out in 98, 99. Oh, I think.
Around the time that Sweet Home was released, another developer had just started working at Capcom. Shinji Mikami was around 25 years old when he started working at the company.
The godfather of Resident
Evil
Evil.
Invited him to a buffet/job fair that Capcom was holding. Mikami only showed up for the free food, but
is he just driving a Ferrari in this shot? Where did you find footage of Shinji Mikami driving a Ferrari? Wait, is this a Ferrari or is this a Lambo? What's the horse? I'm really bad with cars. I'm so bad with cars. Someone correct me, please.
But in talking to the
Mustang,
there,
I don't think that's the Mustang logo. I think the Mustang logo looks different. That's Ferrari. Thank you.
He became so
okay,
interested
good.
that he decided to interview for a position and got it. This simple decision would drastically change the fate of the survival horror genre and video games as a whole.
And then he left to make The Evil Within, and The Evil Within was actually really good. I think the first one was a little rough around the edges. I actually think The Evil Within 2, minus story-wise, gameplay-wise, Evil Within 2, better in every way than the first one. But story-wise, I do think the first Evil Within was better. So, but yeah, Evil Within's fantastic. If you're looking for like an in-between when you haven't had your Resident Evil fill and there's no new Resident Evil game, please do check out The Evil Within. I think they're really good games.
Mikami would work mostly on Disney games for his first 3 years at the company. Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the Game Boy was released in 1991 to little fanfare.
Yeah,
but Goof Troop for the Super Nintendo was where Mikami would really start to...
All right, we're getting a little bit of background on Mikami's games. Okay, you know what, guys? Here's the pipeline. Sweet Home, Goof Troop, Resident Evil. Nailed it. Nailed it, guys. Oh my gosh.
Stride. Positive reception and good sales meant he was moving up in the company.
Hey.
Disney's Aladdin for the same system in 1993 would be another step up for the fledgling developer and a ticket to finally working on something new.
And I've heard nothing but good things about this. I never played this one myself. I wasn't super into the Disney tie-in games for the Super Nintendo, but I do know Capcom found massive success in the Super Nintendo era with these types of games. So
this juxtaposition in development titles has clearly been noted before.
What's up, Java?
How does one go from making animated Disney games to attempting to create the scariest game ever made? An article in issue 91 of GamePro magazine states it thus. What do Resident Evil's bloody butchery and macabre mutants share?
Twink Raid? What's a twink? What's a Cole? Thank you so much for the raid. I had to think about that for a second. Listen. Maybe you should teach me what a twink is sometime. I would love if you would personally educate me. I'm the twink? Yeah, but now I know, and now you can't personally educate me. What am I supposed to do? What can I do for you? Anyway, welcome in, Raiders. My name's Roy Chiato. Like a macchiato, I am a coffee-fueled bunny host of the series Passion for Voice Acting, and I love working out, in case you couldn't tell. Guys, we are reacting to the Resident Evil retrospective today. We're going back in time to 1996, and we're going over the first Resident Evil game. Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I love horror games. I love Resident Evil especially. And we finally played through the original Resident Evil a couple weeks ago, and then last week we did Resident Evil Remake, which I had already played tons of times. But now I want to share that passion with you guys, just in the same way that I shared the passion for Power Rangers. I want to share it with Resident Evil as well. So we're diving through this kind of retrospective, going through the franchise. So after we finish a game, we're probably going to watch one of these videos, which we did get permission from the video creator, your favorite son, over on YouTube. So check him out if you get the chance. Roy, as a macchiato bunny boy, have you heard espresso macchiato? I hate it. Because you said espresso and not espresso. What do you... Why'd you say espresso? It's espresso. Also, hi, NV. Hi, Envy. Hello. It's a song? Do you mean like wait. Are you talking about the song by Sabrina Carpenter? Oh. No. I have not then. Let me get it. You got it. Oh, there you go. You can educate me on that later. Oh, please, you need to hear this. I can't listen to it on stream because we are streaming on YouTube and just in case there's copyright in it. But I will definitely listen to it after stream. Just in case. I promise. I promise, okay? Hit me up on Discord. Hit me up on Discord. Yippee!
In common with the bouncy Super NES games Aladdin and Goof Troop. It's hard to imagine, but the two cheerful cartoon romps in the wickedly compelling Resident Evil were concocted
It's so
by
funny.
the same creative minds.
It's so funny.
Capcom.
I didn't know that Shinji Mikami started on like Aladdin and Goof Troop. Wait, do I have your Discord? It's just Roy Chiato. No spaces. Spelled exactly like it is on every other social media platform. I was very fortunate enough to be one of the first people. If you don't have me on Discord, just add me there. Yippee!
Capcom's Shinji Mikami
What's up,
and his
Scourge?
game development team in Osaka, Japan. So how did this transition happen? It happened during a meeting in 1993 at Capcom's
Okay, thank
Osaka
you.
development studio.
Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, isn't that sweet? I guess so. Say can't sleep, baby. I know that's the me espresso. Moving up, down, left, right, oh, switching up like Nintendo. Anyway,
Fujiwara had become interested
I
in
like that song.
remaking Sweet Home. He had never been happy with the graphical capabilities in the Famicom system and wanted some form of retribution.
it is very funny because I feel like we have heard that on multiple occasions where people were like, I really wanted to make this game, but like technology hadn't caught up yet. And so now I'm making the game now. You know? And like Sweet Home into Resident Evil's pipeline is definitely the way to go. Also, Cole, I got the message. Thank you. I will listen to it after a stream. Thank you. And I hope you had a good stream. It was good seeing you at MomoCon as well. We had 2 MomoConners raid me today. What's with the MomoCon love? What are you guys doing? Huh? No rush? Blech. Okay.
He wanted to remake Sweet Home, but for modern systems with updated graphics.
Yeah.
He invited Mikami
Updated
to direct the game,
graphics.
but Mikami
Or
wasn't
Full Rush, I'm not your dad.
thrilled
Oh.
to be working on a horror
I don't know,
title.
listen.
He didn't like things
Have a good
that
stream.
scared
Thank
him, but
you.
Fujiwara took this as a good sign.
Thank
that he
you.
made the right choice.
Bye, Cole.
People who aren't afraid of
Or
anything
hang out. I'm not your
don't
dad either.
understand what's frightening. In my view, you can't make a horror game if you don't have any fear. While Fujiwara
Ooh. As in, if you aren't afraid of anything. Oh, I like that. I bet Nick would like that line too. Because Nick is all about like what is scary to you and then kind of extrapolating on that fear. You know? Are those Tomba plushies? Oh, I think so. It looks like it. Wait, I think you're right. Yeah. Perfect.
wanted to make a remake of Sweet Home, Capcom wanted new IP. So
Of course.
Sweet Home became Resident Evil.
Well, Resident Evil in the US and Biohazard in Japan.
Really, a lot of the original premise
Oh my God. It's Joseph.
can be felt in the Resident Evil that we would get.
Man, I freaking love Wesker's hair in Resident Evil 1, man. It is so crazy. Resident Evil 1 Wesker is so wild to me because this is just spray painted. They spray painted his hair yellow and made him wear these sunglasses, you know? Oh my God, it's just so funny, dude. Johnny Bravo, look at us. Do the monkey with me. Hey, come on. Hey there, mama. Anyway.
a horror story set in a mansion as characters are picked off one by one.
True.
Striking visuals and horrific imagery were the key that bound these two projects together. It wasn't just the setting or tone, though, that would be lifted from Sweet Home. Many of the foundational gameplay elements that Resident Evil was known for came from that primordial ooze.
True.
Before this name change, though, the game was just referred to as horror game internally. The game.
Yeah, guys, you want to play horror game? Do you guys want to play horror game? That's my favorite game right there. Horror game. My favorite, dude. Early development game names are always wild. Which one? You know which one. Horror game, you know?
Game was also originally planned for the SNES, but due to the system limitations and the release of the Sony PlayStation soon after, this end goal would be changed.
I wonder what this would have been like on Super Nintendo. I cannot for the life of me, like, think of a world where like Resident Evil 1 came out on the Super Nintendo, right? Like, there's no way the Super Nintendo would have been powerful enough. Like, the Super Nintendo had some cool stuff, don't get me wrong, but like Resident Evil 1 with full FMVs? Yeah, I don't think it would have.
At the beginning of development, Mikami worked on the game entirely alone, only adding people to the team once it became clear what direction he wanted the game to go in.
That's wild, considering that, like, his studio shut down because he didn't have enough people to work with him. That is an insane, like, development of a person's work habits. Being like, this is my project too. Okay, I need more people to help me because I know now what I want to do and I know I need help. And then not getting it. That's crazy. Do you hear the Residents of Evil channel has a Kickstarter right now trying to make an original fan Resident Evil film with the entire old cast of the Resident Evil FMV cutscenes? No! Whoa, that's crazy. I hope it goes well. I mean, if it's a fan project, yeah. That's pretty cool.
He had written 40 pages of the script on his own and was hand-drawing images of what he wanted the screen to look like at certain points in the game.
That's awesome.
While the game was still on the SNES, it was meant to be a first-person horror game.
I remember seeing this picture specifically. Bro, it's such a cool shot, too. Like, them shambling toward... Where are his shoes at? Where his shoes at? What? Anyway,
heavily inspired by the first-person fight sequences.
That's the kind of dogs that I want to see.
This idea was actually prototyped, but was inevitably scrapped. Mikami had played Alone in the Dark at some point during development, and he loved the game so much that it convinced him to change to fixed camera angles.
Yep.
Speaking of Alone in the Dark's creator, Frederick Reynal, Mikami says, without him, Resident Evil would probably have become a first-person shooter.
Which is really funny to think about. Because, like, it is really ironic how seeing one game kind of influences another. And even if you don't think that it's going to. And sometimes it's even competition. Because, like, obviously Resident Evil always set out to be a horror game. You know, because it was, like, a spiritual successor to Sweet Home. And that's what they knew that they wanted to do. And even if you can look at fighting games in the same way. I think Tekken, Soul Calibur, and Virtua Fighter, and even though Soul Calibur was made by, you know, Namco Bandai, or Bandai Namco at the time, they were both made by the same company. They all kind of like took things from each other, you know? Because Tekken was a 2D fighter with 3D models at one point, and then they made the 8-way dash in Soul Calibur, and then backported it into Tekken. Or not backported, sideways ported, forward ported, whatever. And then Virtua Fighter's progression made competition for them. Like, that's the idea, though. It's like new innovation and new technology coming out. It's always really interesting to hear those stories. Hi, Jasper.
Main idea for Resident Evil was to...
I have an idea for Resident Evil 9 because RE leaned into the gothic horror monsters like vampires, werewolves, as opposed to sci-fi zombie. Maybe the next RE game could focus on Japanese mythology monsters. I don't think they'll do that. Just because we do have that new Silent Hill coming out. And I think that new Silent Hill is very much leaning into that traditional Japanese horror. And I don't think that they want to, like, have that spillover. That's just my opinion, though. That's just my opinion. I would like to see a return to like, ooh, Resident Evil in space. I think would be cool. But then it might just be like Alien. I feel like space is something we haven't done yet, or like a remote setting. We haven't been to like a remote setting in a while. Because like Resident Evil 4 was like a spanning village. 5 is like a huge village in Africa that spans way further. 6 is multiple different countries. 7 is the Baker Estate, which is great. And then 8 is a lot of the area that they're in. You know, it's not just Domitresk's castle. So
make it terrifying. He wasn't scared by ghosts.
Onimusha exists. Yeah, that too. We're getting Onimusha as well.
He wanted real, physical monsters.
We don't talk about 6.
Oh, my threat.
You're right.
Other physical beings that you would inhabit, and by extension would pose a threat to the player. While Resident Evil was being built off the back of Sweet Home and other games like it, it couldn't help but be influenced by horror cinema from the period as well.
Code Veronica was in Antarctica for half of it. The other half was outside Raccoon City? No. Where was the first half? I know it was at an Umbrella base. I just don't remember where. Does anyone remember where the first... Ryuhi, are you here? Are you secretly lurking? Ryuhi, if you're lurking, where did Code Veronica take place in the first half that wasn't in Antarctica? If he was secretly lurking, that would have been really funny. Ashford Island. Yeah, but like, where is that? That's what I mean. Like, I don't know where that is. It's always been Raccoon City. No. No. No, it has not. Resident Evil 1 doesn't even take place in Raccoon City.
But the main distinguishing factor between this and the horror films of the past
was that the
what's the
square
was in the hands of
Rockford Island in South Pacific. Thank you.
The director of the film.
Thank you.
Mikami ultimately wanted to create a horror game where the player had control, where they did not have to follow the whims of the creator, but where they could choose how to proceed. When Mikami started bringing other people onto the project, he had a team of 40 hands on deck.
Ooh.
But Resident Evil wasn't seen as some groundbreaking project that would shatter the company's financial reports. It was just seen as another game. At certain points, people with free time were even directed to help out on the project because they didn't have enough manpower.
Hey man, can you help me with this game? Yeah, sure. What do you need? It's just, it's a zombie horror survival. What's that? What are you talking about right now? What's even going on? Yeah, RE2 and RE3 take place in Raccoon City. I think that's it. I mean, Outbreaks do as well. Outbreak 1 and 2. I think that's it. I think it's RE2, RE3, and the Outbreaks take place in Raccoon City. The rest of them are not.
This team would eventually balloon up to 80 members by the end of development
people.
As the project gained more respect and notoriety throughout the studio. Before the launch, many features...
RE1's near Raccoon City. It is in the Arklay Mountains, which are outside of Raccoon City. Which, it's not in Raccoon City, but they do specify that it's the Arklay Mountains. Outside of Raccoon City. So...
had to be cut. Late prototypes featured
Operation Raccoon City.
Right. Real-time weapon switching and extra areas,
I guess that one.
all of which were not included in the final
I guess that one
build
too.
of the game.
My bad.
But with many delays under its belt, a rocky development, and some cut
rocky
content,
development?
Resident Evil was released for the Sony PlayStation 1 on March 22nd, 1996 in Japan.
What a freaking cool cover. This is such a freaking iconic cover, and I'm gonna pull up the art that I got now. Hold on, let me find it. I don't randomly have it. Damn. Okay. Resident Evil Chris art. Let me find it. Say you can't sleep, baby. I know that's the me espresso. Sorry, I've got that stuck in my head. So I got this art done. Is it Control F? There we go. Perfect. Way easier. Look at that. We tried to recreate the cover. You know? That was the idea, is we were trying to recreate the cover. And I think we got it. You know? And obviously this is supposed to be Chris on the cover. It doesn't have his like iconic outfit on it. Because probably green isn't as appealing for a game cover, or didn't have that realistic feel, you know? Royfield jump scare, my bad. My bad. But yeah, I think this looks freaking awesome. I was so happy with how this came out. Yeah. We love Joe? Absolutely we do. 100%. All right, we'll move that again.
April 1st, 1996.
Came out on April 1st? Damn. Yeah, next year is 30 years since Resident Evil started. That's insane.
In North America, and August 16th, 1996 in the PAL region.
Whoa.
Before we talk about Resident Evil as an experience, we have to talk about Resident Evil as a choice.
Yeah, Resident Evil, that was a choice. They chose to fight evil in a residence. Astrobot has not one but 5 Resident Evil character cameos and looks so cute. Oh, I wonder which characters there are. I would imagine Ethan's probably there. I would imagine Domitresk is probably there. And then Chris, Jill, and Leon?
Aren't already aware, saying that Capcom likes to re-release their game multiple times and in multiple versions.
I mean, yeah, but like when they re-release it and it's better, it's like hard to be mad about that. You know what I mean? It's hard to be mad when like the newer versions that get released are just better versions. Jill, Claire, Chris, Leon, and Wesker. Oh, not Domitresk or Ethan. Okay.
Is like saying that Todd Howard is obsessed with having as many copies of Skyrim on the...
I mean, they're not wrong. They're not wrong, okay? Also, they did confirm after Resident Evil 8, especially after the Shadow of Rose DLC, that the Winters family story was done. 7 and 8 was all they wanted to do with the Winters, is what they said. That could change, but I'm just going on what they said, you know?
Market as possible. It's an understatement.
Yeah.
Resident Evil was first released on the PlayStation 1 in 1996. That same year, the game was then released for Windows with some nominal differences.
Oh my gosh.
The introduction was now
No, don't
in color
go! Crap, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. My name's Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I'm a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting. I absolutely love working out. In case you couldn't tell. Welcome in, guys. We are reacting to a Resident Evil story retrospective today. So it's movie time. If you guys want to have a chill stream, we're going to be pausing and just talking about the video while we go on, especially if you like Resident Evil. So pull up a chair, kick your feet. Let's have some fun, shall we? No! Don't go! Yeah, yelling at Brad. Freaking Brad.
Other than black and white, and the uncensored scenes of the Japanese releases of the original PlayStation game.
Oh my god, it's so crunchy. Like, you can't even make out the details of his face. That's insane.
Were included. 2 new...
Bro, look at that prop. That prop is so cool looking. That's like a dog's mouth. Damn, that's cool looking. Anyway,
2 new weapons were also added and alternate costumes. In 1997, the director's cut version of Resident Evil was released for the PlayStation 1.
That's what we played. We played director's cut, specifically.
This version included difficulty options, an advanced mode with new item placements, reintroduction of the censorship from the original release, the addition of auto
There was censorship? Oh.
aim, and new costumes.
Wait, Resident Evil Classic, like not director's cut, didn't have auto aim? Whoa, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I feel like auto aim is such just a common thing in Resident Evil, like from the 90s and early 2000s. That's crazy. Was Jill Valentine in the RE remakes? She's an RE1 remake. And RE3 remake, considering it's her game.
The same year, the Sega Saturn version of Resident Evil was released. This version had exclusive enemies, an extra boss at the end of the game, more new costumes.
It did. Wait, extra boss? Whoa.
And new character models. In 1998, the DualShock PS1 version.
The DualShock PS1 version is the funniest version ever because they got new music to be done for it. And whenever I make a joke about farty trumpets in the basement, that's where that comes from.
of Resident Evil was released. This, as you can clearly tell by the name, supported DualShock controller functions like rumble and analog sticks.
Wow.
The only other real difference here from the director's cut was the new soundtrack, which had some questionable choices. In 2002,
oh my gosh, dude, it always kills me. Yeah. So it's really funny because I remember being like kind of scared in the basement because I was expecting this music when we got to the basement. And then the actual basement theme played and I was like, whoa, and it like scared the shit out of me. You know?
In 2002, the game was entirely remade from the ground up for the GameCube. This version of the game is completely overhauled.
Can you imagine 6 years later? Is this the biggest jump in gaming console generations that we've ever had? Was it like PlayStation 1 era to PlayStation 2 era? Is it the biggest jump in like quality that we've ever had? Because like that's a crazy jump. And this is on the GameCube. This isn't even on PS2. It's insane. I love Remake. I still, after replaying Remake, it is still, I think, one of the greatest horror survival games ever made. Still, genuinely, holds up to this day. Fantastic game.
Which I'll talk about more in a later section of this video.
Yippee!
In 2006, Resident Evil was released for the Nintendo DS under the...
Where it was exclusive for a bit. Yeah, it was exclusive on GameCube until the HD version of it, I think, came out in like 2014. Oh, I think I got ported to the Wii as well. Yeah.
The title Resident Evil Deadly Silence.
For DS.
This version included reworked puzzles, touchscreen support.
I never played this version.
Subtitles, skippable cutscenes, etc. It was actually a huge upgrade. And finally, in 2015, the remaster that was originally released for the GameCube was ported to Windows, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, 4, and Xbox One.
Yep.
Now, all of this information...
I was going to say, this is the version that I played recently, too. I played the Steam version of it. So if you get the chance, try it out. This game has aged like fine wine. The backgrounds look amazing because they're all static pre-rendered backgrounds. The character models actually look really good, too. Great game. Aged very well. Music's fantastic.
To the final surging question, which one of these should you play?
This one. The one that was released in 2015, in my opinion, is the definitive Resident Evil 1 experience. Having now played original Resident Evil and this and messed around with a couple of different versions, I think this is the best version. If you're looking for quality Resident Evil 1 experience, play this. Please play this. 10 years ago, man. Yeah, but the original version of this came out 23 years ago. Your unreleased Resident Evil 0 for 64. Yep, I did. I heard about that. Out of every single Resident Evil game, which one is your number one favorite? I think classic Resident Evil 2 is still my favorite because it was the first Resident Evil that I played. Not to completion, but it was the first Resident Evil that I played. And then I think I still think this or RE2 remake are like the best Resident Evils made. Because it's like, this is such a hard game to top. There's so much content in it. Like having two characters with slightly branching paths, with different difficulties. There's so much to play through on original Resident Evil. It's so amazing.
And you'd be surprised to
my
realize
first favorite is
that this is
OG RE4.
quite
There
a
you go.
difficult
That's a good
question
one.
to answer. The original
No, it's not.
PlayStation version of the game
No, it's not.
lacks quite a lot of the handy features of the director's cut
Yeah.
version of the game, but it is the
I hated this
original
puzzle.
version of the game. So it was quite appealing to
This puzzle was a
me
pain in
for
the
my
ass.
interests in covering this game and this
Don't step on the
series.
Switch.
I did play this one all the way through.
Okay, good.
The
No,
Windows
he stepped on the
version of
Switch!
game also lacks quite a lot of the handy features from the director's cut version of the game, but it does allow you to skip door transitions, which, if unskipped, take up a large chunk of your playtime.
Yeah, I think I left them there for like the classic Resident Evil experience. I didn't want to download like a door skipping mod. But yeah, it was like, it's like 4 to 5 seconds a door and like a couple hundred door opens per playthrough. It adds up. It's like a solid like 20 to 30 minutes of just watching doors open and close.
It also probably looks nominally better than emulating the original version on PC. I also played this one all the way through.
Yeah.
The director's cut version of the game has a lot to like about it. Adjustable difficulty and auto-aim make this feel like a completely different experience.
This is what I played. We played the director's cut version, the PS4 port, and then I played it on my PS5. But yeah, this is what we played. I do know that it's on GOG as well. I did not have the chance to play that version yet. I might scoop it just for the sake of having like it on a PC console, because I do want to have a good way of playing Resident Evil 2 Classic and Resident Evil 3 Classic. But yeah.
But if you're playing it today, you're probably emulating it on PC, and the gameplay won't hold up quite like the Windows version of the game does.
Just play the PS4 version.
I did not play this one all the way through, but I did experience a good chunk of it.
Director's cut.
The Sega Saturn version of the game doesn't really have much to write home about in terms of features, and its new character models look far too chunky for my tastes, so that one is off the list.
Understandable.
The DualShock PS1 version is, well, yeah, it's just not really worth talking about either.
Dad, no, he's gonna play it again. Ain't no way. The
original version.
Oh my dude, he is listen, he's already dead, man. Leave him let him breathe, man. Let him breathe.
Version of the remake on the GameCube does have its advantages over the 2015 version in that some of the lighting in the backgrounds is a bit more noticeable, but in my opinion, it doesn't really beat out the modern version in either fidelity or accessibility.
Yeah, because it's
Deadly
GameCube.
Silence is a massive upgrade for the original version of the game and includes a ton of features that the original doesn't have.
I really like the map. I love being able to see the map on the top screen, you know?
That being said, I won't be using much footage from this one as it just doesn't make sense for this
DS
video.
version, yeah, doesn't
and
really
finally,
make sense.
the 2015 version of the GameCube remake is probably the best version of this game that
Good pick. The correct answer.
exists, and maybe the best remake of a game that I've ever played.
I think so.
All that being said, the main two versions that I selected to take a look at for this video were the original PlayStation version, which I emulated, and the Windows version, which was recently released on GOG and is fantastic.
There you go.
This is because these two were the closest to the original version of the game, unsullied and pure, while still being easy to play and
I don't know if I can handle it without auto aim though.
record. I did try out every version for this review so that I could make some sort of informed decision, and in the end, I have my complaints with both the original PS1 version of the game and the Windows version of the game.
Yeah, I would
Much
imagine.
like Resident Evil itself, I think they combine to create a larger canon, a larger whole. I will be talking about the remake at the end of this video, and I would probably recommend it over every version of this.
Good, as you should. What's GOG? GOG is Good Old Games. It is a DRM-free game site. Also a platform that you can download. It's very similar to Steam, but the big thing is that they are kind of... I think the idea for GOG is preserving games rather than anything else, so you don't ever have to download their launcher, and you can download just the game. Because there's always like a fear of like, man, if Steam goes down for some reason, I don't have access to any of these games. Where GOG, you own what you buy. It's one of those kind of things. A very different conversation. But GOG does have Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 for purchase on their site, which is probably where I'll be getting 2 and 3 from.
This game entirely.
Yippee!
When booting up Resident Evil, we actually have a choice before we can begin the game. We have to pick between two characters, Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. This choice ultimately doesn't matter much because we'll be playing both characters, but
you're going to want to play both characters anyway, because like Resident Evil's not a very long game. Your first playthrough is probably going to take you in the realm of like 8 to 12 hours casually. And if you have Resident Evil experience before, probably going to take you less than that. Like my first playthrough of this, having played a ton of other Resident Evils and being vaguely familiar with OG, was 6.5-ish hours, I think. Maybe 7 hours, something like that. But you're going to want to play both because it feels like a more complete package. Yeah.
There are some differences in the end result. Mainly, Chris's side is a bit more difficult due to the different mechanics, choices, and items, and their stories play out in a slightly different way.
Yep. So Chris gets nothing in the original as an extra, but he does have more health and starts with a knife, and Jill starts with a lockpick and 2 extra inventory slots. She also starts with a handgun. Jill is usually considered easy mode, where Chris is considered hard mode, even before the difficulties. 2 extra inventory slots is a lot. It is a lot. Also, yes, the master of unlocking. Did this retrospective happen to mention Sweet Home at all? Yep, that's what like the first segment here was. You can kind of see it like flashing, but yes, they did talk about Sweet Home quite a bit. Yep.
We'll start out with Chris and then talk about Jill's side of the story.
Perfect.
The year is 1998. The month is July, and the setting is
Don't
Raccoon
worry, Jill.
Forest.
We
open on a dark sky full of clouds. In the background, we can hear a narration begin to set the scene.
From Chris.
The man speaking is Chris Redfield,
Yeah.
who is heading up the search for Bravo Team's helicopter in the forest. Newspaper clippings flash across the scene that tell us strange murders have been happening in Raccoon City, and that STARS, the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, were sent to fix the issue.
STARS. Gonna be important for the next couple of games. Yeah, Jill Sandwich Room.
Families were being attacked and eaten by some group, and Bravo Team went to seek them out. But Chris and his team lost communication with them.
I love that it's like, yeah, we sent the Bravo team to look at them just because we were like, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And it's like, you get there to investigate, and it's like, they got bodied, dude. Like, I can't remember the name of the guy that's in the chopper that they find. It might be Kenneth. No, Kenneth is the guy you find in the mansion. I don't even remember the name of the dude that you find in the chopper in the beginning. But like, that dude's dead. You find Kenneth in the beginning. Richard dies very quickly. And Rico also dies very quickly. And then Rebecca survives. You know?
We begin to see live action shots of the characters.
Still want a Bravo Team movie that's a horror slasher film. I mean, that's just Resident Evil 0 at that point.
The bodies of the team, you know, sent to rescue. They are attacked by
the yellow hair kills me, dude, because that is like spray painted yellow. That is not blonde.
mutated dogs. Their helicopter takes off and leaves them stranded as they have to make a run for the nearest safe haven, a mansion hidden among the trees. Now, I'd like to talk about this introduction for a moment.
So good.
Stating the obvious here, the whole thing is filmed in live action.
It's so good.
The first Resident Evil game uses live action footage, most likely accidentally, to add to its campy B-movie style.
What do you mean accidentally? Didn't they get, like, famous movie directors to help with this? What do you mean they knew what they were doing? They absolutely knew what they were doing. 100%.
As we'll find out soon enough, Resident Evil is a game about zombies, influenced by horror films of the past. Movies like Night of the Living Dead lend the basis for the undead premise.
Incidentally,
Films like Pet
maybe.
Sematary provide the idea for undead animals. The Shining provides the setting. Hitchcock's Birds provides the birds. But in some ways, Resident Evil doesn't feel like those high-class, well-constructed films of its past. It feels like a B-movie. It's kitschy, it's campy, it's definitely corny. Just listen to the way that Chris beckons the helicopter to stay, to not leave them stranded here in this unfamiliar and dangerous place.
No! Don't go!
Bro, it kills me every time. Some of the lines in OG Resident Evil are just so goddamn funny to me, dude.
It's brilliant, and most importantly, it sets a precedent for both story and tone.
Oh no!
It's
dude.
also worth noting that the
Isn't that bird up?
colorized version of this footage in the Windows version of the game makes everything look even cornier than it already is. This somehow looks like a preemptive cosplay, like actors cosplaying characters that hadn't even been created yet.
It's ironic because with the color, it does actually somehow look worse. I will 100% admit to that. I don't know what it is, but like
For the
the
tone of
colors
the
are just so washed out, or not washed out. They're so vibrant. They're so washed in the colors.
It communicates to the player that this is first a horror story, a tale meant to terrify and scare,
Yeah.
but it is also not a story that will be beating you over the head with its messages.
Yeah.
Resident Evil
Look at Wesker,
attempts to
exactly.
capture a foundational feel very early on that it is creating a very simple framework to set a new experience in. Its foundation borrows from many of its inspirations, but the ways in which it innovates will be in the way that
I
you
love that.
experience.
Look at, like, that's such a cool shot. Pulls up the hand and it's still holding the gun. I think that's so freaking cool, dude. What a freaking cool shot, you know?
Those fears.
Well, this was like
Resident
the
Evil,
film,
as
the
we
sequence.
continue forward, will
Ooh,
sort of
baby.
become this strange crossover amalgamation of the horror genre as a whole. It has the advantage of not being a
Cool
film
shot, I agree.
and being
Yeah.
an interactive experience on its side, though. And Resident Evil is cool. It is not begging you to respect how cool it is, but lackadaisically proving that
Yeah.
fact to you by throwing things into your face, like the character introduction sequence.
Oh, yeah, where everything's burning away and exploding with fire like it's the 90s. Yeah. I mean, it was the 90s.
Our cast is introduced to us as if we're about to boot up a mid-90s fighting game.
Yeah.
As if Rebecca Chambers and Chris Redfield were about to start duking it out
Redfield.
on screen in 2D fashion.
True. I hope one day we get a good Resident Evil live action movie. The first one we got, I actually liked. The one that's like the first Wes Anderson one. I think that one's actually at least good and entertaining and enjoyable. I think after that they start to go downhill pretty fast. I liked the Nemesis one, but like from this is really bad and I enjoy it. And then I don't remember the third one, but I know I saw it. And then after that, I just don't know. So.
Rebecca Chambers.
Rebecca Chambers.
But the introduction sequence
Rebecca
also sets the precedent
Chambers.
for story moving forward. It's quick and simple, but it tells the players that this mansion is our safe haven. While we'll soon learn that this safe haven is not so safe after all, we are effectively trapped here. There is no other way out. The front door standing for the
Paul
archetypal
W.S.
image
Anderson.
of
Sorry, not
exit,
Wes Anderson.
run,
You're right,
or
you're right.
escape
My bad.
will not even be present as an option. The mutated dogs outside present a danger too high to overcome.
My bad.
And the lack of chopper means that our heroes must deal with whatever is inside this elegant fortress. The front door is so inaccessible to the player that none of the fixed camera angles will ever even show it, telling us clearly, bluntly, and literally that escape is not an option.
It's also really fun. Actually, a lot about this door can plainly be seen in approximately 3 angles, but it's almost out of the focal point of the camera. My point stands. Okay, so I was gonna kind of say that, especially in Remake, there's very clear angles of the door. However, they emphasize and like strike home this point because every time you try and open the door, like you'd want to leave, either you're cut off and like a dog is waiting for you outside, or a dog even busts in through the door and you have to then fight a dog. So, yeah.
With multiple Bravo team members confirmed dead and one of Alpha Team squad making a tasty lunch for the mutants outside, the rest of the group heads into the mansion. Here, in Chris's side of the story, it is Wesker, Jill, and Chris. Chris wonders where Barry has gone, but Wesker notes that he's most likely dead at this point. The group hears a gunshot, and Chris is sent off to check it out. While
it's always confused me, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but like Barry's with the team when they go into the mansion because he's with them in the opening cutscene, and then you pick who you're playing as, and then you pick Chris and Barry's just gone, and you pick Jill and Chris is just gone, And we know that the gunshot is actually from not Forrest, Kenneth. There we go. Oh my god, I was forgetting his name. Yeah, like where did Barry go? Barry's just like non-existent in Chris's campaign, but canonically he lives. You know? I don't know. Like Chris at least shows up in Jill's story. Like he's captured right away and put in one of the what's it called? You know? Barry went poof? I guess so.
While Jill and Wesker stay back. Jill leaves Chris with 2 final emotional words, even though they don't know it yet. These two won't see each other again for quite some time.
Yeah, the rest of the freaking game. Yeah, because Wesker immediately kidnaps Jill and puts her in like a holding cell.
And it'll be on the other side of some pretty heavy revelations. The developers know this though, so heavy emphasis is placed on this moment.
Chris, take care.
Yeah, take care. Yeah, just the hand
Chris
wave.
heads into a dining room off the side of the main entryway and makes his way to a nearby hall.
On the last time he'd kidnap her, true.
There he finds a monster, specifically an undead zombie, feasting on the remains
This
of one
iconic shot.
And upon examining his body, Chris notes that he has become a shadow of his former self. Geez, Chris, that's a little harsh, don't you think?
I mean, he's dead. What do you mean? He's dead. He's missing a head. Of course he's a shadow of his former self. Kenneth got bodied.
When Chris heads back into the main entryway to report
You skipped this cutscene, not intentionally. The game skipped it for me. I've also seen it a million times.
his findings, Wesker and Jill are gone, the woman's pistol left on the ground. This is our first weapon of the game, and the moment that we're given full control, and not only the ability to fight, but to shoot. With this,
Well, you have the ability to fight. It's just that Chris has the knife, so it's different.
it's probably time to talk about the gameplay of Resident Evil. The main goal of Resident Evil after this point becomes to find Jill and discover a way out of this mansion. That becomes increasingly harder as over the course of the game we're introduced to many different enemies and threats that act as roadblocks.
Tons.
Resident Evil then provides two ways to interact with its systems, fighting and solving puzzles. We fight enemies
Fighting or running, and then solving puzzles.
mostly with a variety of ranged weaponry. We start out with a pistol, and shooting is as simple as aiming down our sights and pulling the trigger. Aiming is done in the classic fixed camera way by holding the R1 button and then adjusting our aim.
Dude, that's missing! Dude, I could not handle not having auto aim. Ain't no way. He shot down twice right near the body and missed 2 shots.
Add inputs. We can aim up, down, or adjust our aim to the
3.
left and right. Though our pistol is effective and has a ton of ammunition scattered through,
That's crazy. Hey, thanks for the follow, welcome in.
Later in the story, will provide much desired firepower in exchange for less ammunition overall.
Oh wait, does classic not director's cut not have the red pool that shows up underneath them when they're dead? Maybe they were dead. Ooh. Also would drive me nuts.
Revolver is similar, packing a lot more punch, but having less resources to fire.
I didn't know
with.
that.
These 3 weapons.
Hey, thank
are
you, Yumi.
basically
I appreciate it.
for
Thank you,
Chris's
thank you.
Side of the story. Jill will get an extra weapon that we'll talk about when we get there. There are
The grenade launcher is so good.
some other
What was added
contextual
later? That's
weapons
crazy.
that
I
we
didn't
save for
know.
the moments when
Good to
they're
know.
relevant, and some weapons that can be unlocked when the game is beaten. But mainly, these 3 make up the bulk of the fighting that we'll do
Dude, that
in our
missed.
first playthrough.
Come
the
on.
main enemy type that we'll encounter for a large chunk of the beginning of the game will be zombies.
That's
The
crazy.
zombies aren't particularly easy to deal with at the start when we're still getting our bearings. They are slow, lumbering creatures that seem like they don't pose much threat.
I would've screamed.
But this would
There's
be
no
a
way I would've
mistake
been able to handle
to
this version.
judge them like this. They require quite a few rounds from the handgun to take down, and even when they fall to the floor, that isn't necessarily the end of the
I might
fight.
get back up.
Sometimes they will still be alive, and the only way to really get rid of them is to ensure that there's a pool of blood forming around their
That's what I just said. So it wasn't the original then.
body. If we leave them on the ground still alive, they could attack our legs as we're walking by. We'll talk about other enemies as they're introduced because that complicates things a bit. But let's keep it simple for now and focus on the undead.
Zombies.
They also do quite a
And
bit
zombie
of damage,
dogs.
and part of the way that we interact with Resident Evil, fighting, is also healing. 2 of the 3
I
most valuable
guess.
resources in Resident Evil are ammunition and
Oh, also really fun to mention. There was no invincibility in Resident Evil 1 So if you get bit by a zombie and right next to you there's like a zombie dog or another zombie or a hunter, you could immediately just get grabbed again. So as you push a zombie off of you or a zombie dog off of you, you could just get snatched immediately again. Yeah, Resident Evil 1 did not play around. They didn't add like the pushback thing until Resident Evil 2. That much I do know.
Healing items. Healing items either come in the form of herbs or sprays. A first aid spray is pretty strong and will take our health up from a terrifying, blinking red danger to a calm, reassuring, blinking green fine.
Yeah.
The green
Blinking
herbs
green
by
fine.
themselves will restore a chunk of our health, but when combined with a red herb, their strength will be increased and they will be effectively a first aid spray.
Yeah, that's always the way to think about it. 3 green herbs makes a full heal. A green and a red makes a full heal. And a green by itself, I think it's like 35% of your health, roughly. I think. I could be wrong on that one. Don't quote me on that.
The blue herb will cure us if we get poisoned, and the red herb always strengthens the herb it's combined with. It's a pretty simple system, but what's the point of herb combination in the first place?
Let's find out.
Resident Evil might fool you into thinking that it's a survival horror game with its zombies, guns,
Might convince you that it's a survival horror game. My bad.
fixed camera angles,
Didn't know it
and
wasn't.
overall tone, but it's actually a management simulator. The goal of Resident Evil is to keep the numbers in your inventory and your stash box
Oh, it was
high,
brightened up
while
to make
also
it more noticeable.
progressing
Got
through
it.
The game. It's a delicate balance, and plenty of
Thank
this
you,
work is
Belmore.
done through trading with the game as if it were an NPC. Let me explain.
Huh.
Playing as Chris allots the player with 6 inventory slots.
It's rough. Oh my god, 6 was so bad.
Paltry sum of spaces to store the things that we need
Yeah.
in this journey. Generally, 2 of these inventory slots are taken up by our currently equipped weapon and a stack of ammunition for that weapon.
Yep.
Luckily, we can store any of the items that we find in stash boxes,
Item
that are
boxes.
laid out across the mansion.
Yeah.
These stash boxes are all interlinked, so an item placed in one stash box will be easily accessible from a stash box on the other side.
Oh, also there's no quick turn in RE1 Classic. Shout out to the RE1 remake save room theme song is so good. Real.
The house. Inventory space
Super
starts to
true.
get pretty limited very quickly once we factor in picking up healing items as we come across them,
Nice.
picking up other guns that we find.
Hey, thanks for the follow.
our
Welcome in.
Ammunition, and especially puzzle items. We'll get to those specifically in a minute, but we require a lot of inventory space, and that does not matter to Resident Evil. We get only 6.
Yeah.
The stash box is technically more inventory space, a near infinite amount of it, but it cannot move with us. It stays stationary in different rooms throughout the house. If the stash box was another character
Is there not a zombie here on Chris's side? Wait, maybe I just don't remember. There is in remake.
in the game, it would be Oscar the Grouch, a permanent fixture of the alley that we inhabit, someone that we are forced to interact with on
Huh? I've never heard someone call the freaking item box Oscar the Grouch.
its terms, but someone that doesn't particularly make life as easy as it could be.
Okay.
And that's not the point. Resident Evil is not a game that's supposed to be as easy as it could be. It's not the
No,
most
definitely
difficult
not.
game that I've ever played, but it certainly doesn't pull punches.
No,
could
it
be
definitely wants you to
described
have a hard
as
time.
punishing. If it were released today and the survival horror genre made its way without it, then journalists would surely refer to it as the Dark Souls of survival.
Oh my god. I mean, remake definitely. Cause like with Crimson Heads especially.
Horror games.
How do you feel about the new enemies in remake? Crimson Heads are, I think, are one of the smartest things they've ever added.
Resource in the
So
valuable
freaking
resource
cool.
hierarchy of Resident Evil.
He's not
This item
wrong,
would
no,
be
you're right.
Ink ribbons. Ink ribbons are items that we will find scattered throughout the mansion.
Absolutely right.
They allow us to save our progress at typewriters, devices which are usually included in stash rooms.
Hey, welcome in.
If we do
It's
not
a
have an ink
retrospective
ribbon,
of
we
Resident
cannot
Evil.
Save. You can probably see how this is a pretty important item to have. So Resident Evil doesn't restrict our access to these items. Handgun ammunition is placed in many rooms throughout
There's
the
a
game.
lot of handgun
Green
ammo.
herbs and first aid.
Yeah, I think we had like 200 extra shots by the end of our Chris playthrough, which is nuts. Garrison's never wrong, true. Crimson Heads are terrifying, and I'm sad they aren't in more games. It's in this, like RE1 remake, and Operation Raccoon City, and I think that's it. So yeah,
sprays
I
are
get
provided
that.
to us often,
100%.
and
I'm
ink
with you
ribbons
on that
are given to us at
one,
big
which is
moments in the game's
insane.
narrative. But Resident Evil restricts our ability to keep these items on us. This creates a different dynamic between the player and the systems. We know that we have these items, and if we've collected enough of them, we may have them in abundance.
Very hard.
But they might not be
Very
on
difficult.
us right now. There are effectively 3 ways to go about this on your first
Dog.
playthrough. You can keep many healing items and ammunition on you to be prepared for moments when you might encounter combat.
I'm sorry for
this
you.
might
Thank
make you deal with these
appreciate it.
situations better, but it might also make you waste these items, and they are finite. This also will create a longer playtime because in many cases you will run into puzzle items that need to be taken back to
Dude, the spider's legs come off? I don't even think we dealt with that. I think I just ran past him.
stash, creating a lot of running.
Oh,
back
dude, he
and forth.
missed.
Or you can keep the bare minimum, trading more in scarcity.
Ooh.
But
Wait, that's kind of funny. It's just a pair of a pile of legs. What's a Crimson Head? So in RE1 Remake, if you kill a zombie and its head doesn't get exploded, and if it's not set on fire after it's killed, it will regenerate and mutate further to having like ferocious claws, bigger fangs, be faster and able to run, be more aggressive and things like that. And it'll be where you left it. So it's always something in RE1 Remake you had to think about. The more you played the game, you're like, should I kill this zombie or should I leave? Do I have enough lighter fluid to, deal with this, like setting this zombie on fire? Can I do it right now? Did it die via headshot? Yes, no. And it added another layer to the game. Yeah.
you run
They're
the risk
so
of
cool.
dying and losing your progress.
I loved them.
But this carries the advantage of
Yeah.
easily interacting with most puzzles in the game. Because of this, we have to interact with the game by making trades. This is done in various different ways.
Spooky.
During combat, we might get hit, and even if we make it out alive of an encounter, this still becomes a dangerous situation. Wandering around the mansion low on health means that we run the risk of dying. In the
Oh my
next
God, dude.
encounter. So
Get me
do
out of
we
there.
play the next encounter safe by using a ton of bullets, risking ammunition waste at the expense of using a health item, or do we just use the health item? This is trading health items for ammunition.
I do like that explanation because that is the good way of looking at it. Resident Evil has this this almost currency where it's like, do you want to use health items for this, or do you want to use ammunition for this? And more times than not, you're gonna want to use ammunition because health items are generally less readily available. But then as you get later into the game, both become significantly harder to find. And then it's like, I wasted all of my shotgun shells, and now I have nothing to deal with all of these high-level enemies at the end. Unless you're like me and you saved the perfect amount of Magnum ammo for the end of the game and was able to one-shot everything.
This is also done when inventory space is low and we don't have the slots to carry extra stuff. We make a decision between combat power and safety in health.
Yeah.
When running down hallways, we can avoid combat
What's up,
altogether
Rugged
by
Cartoon?
running past enemies, something we will do quite often.
Yeah.
But again, we risk trading health for ammunition. And all of this is in the effort of conservation. Conserving our stores and hoarding what we have is essential because all resources are finite. If we run out of ammo, then we're stuck in that situation and we have to find a way out. Of course,
I love the arms getting shot off, like the limbs. It's such a nice, cool layer to add,
we can always fall back on the old trusty combat knife, but it isn't exactly all reliable. The first time that I booted up Resident Evil, I got about an hour into the game before I realized it actually required you to pay attention to your inventory and your supplies and had to restart the game because I was in such a bad way.
Oh, they must have spent so much ammo or so much like healing items that they just had nothing. Wait, that's kind of crazy. I don't think I've had that kind of like experience with Resident Evil since like I first got into the franchise. But I imagine for like a lot of newcomers, Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 1 Remake are like kind of hard to approach because of that. Because like they're so dated in that sense of like that's just the inventory management and like trade system of like using ammo versus using healing, I wonder how people would feel about going back and playing RE1 Remake for the first time now,
This is something that Resident Evil makes you learn. Like an iron-fisted father, Resident Evil does not bend to you.
Iron-fisted
you bend
father.
to it. You
I
warp
like that.
and fit yourself into its mold in the interests of the overall experience. In an interview with the French outlet Le Monde, Shinji Mikami
Oh,
said,
he's shooting so much.
I was a normal child. That said, my parents were extremely strict. Maybe that's reflected in my games.
Oh.
And this is an understatement because Resident Evil is strict, but this is in the service of horror. Resident Evil has horror in the classical sense that we will talk about. The groaning noises that the undead make, the crows that
I was gonna
watch you
say
while
the
you complete
crows.
the art puzzle,
The
and
crows
giant monsters you
especially.
must buck up and face. But Resident Evil's
How strict are we talking? The game or his upbringing? I don't freaking know. But I'd love to see them remake RE1 again with the RE engine. I feel the same way, Jake. I am actually with you on that one. It's such a weird thing because like RE2 remake and RE4 remake were so freaking fantastic. 3 was I wish they just didn't pass it off because 3 remake could have been really good. But redoing RE1 again, I think is actually not a bad idea because if they do, they could also do 0 again with it as like a DLC. And then go right from that into like Code Veronica or something like that. Because if we just go into 5 remake next, we're never going to see a Code Veronica remake. We're never going to see a Resident Evil 0 remake. You know? It wasn't awful, but they fumbled 3. It's because it wasn't directly Capcom that didn't. It wasn't Capcom in-house that did Resident Evil 3 remake. They kind of like handed it off to like an in-house studio and not them directly. And then after that, they were like, we're never going to do that again. So I don't know about them remaking RE1 after how 3 and 4 came out. Wait, 4 remake was great. What do you mean? 3 remake was rough, but 4 remake was fantastic. Confusion? Did you not like 4 remake? 4 remake was great. Yeah, 4 was amazing. Well, I'm saying.
horror doesn't stop at its enemies and narrative. The spirit is passed on to the mechanics as well. Making
But
these
clunky and
resource
unresponsive.
trades, even if done perfectly, can
Okay,
still
fair.
leave you high and dry. Let's say you fill up your
Understandable.
inventory with puzzle items because you think a solution is coming soon.
I did that a lot in RE1 original, just because I was like, oh, I remember where I am, and my memory being from remake and not original. And I would be carrying around like 3 puzzle items, and in Chris's inventory, you can't do that. Chris has no inventory for that kind of crap.
On your way to that area, maybe you only bring a pistol with a few bullets inside to make room for the rest. In this scenario, you are overextended, and because of Resident Evil's unpredictable design, illusions in the dark that make you feel like enemies can appear at any moment, you feel that fear of overextension.
Yep, and especially because, like, think about it like you need a weapon and the ammo type, a type of healing, and then maybe a puzzle item or 2. And then it's, wait, what if I find new items? I need inventory space for that too. So it's so much planning and almost stress that comes from that planning that makes Chris that much more stressful.
You feel bare. You feel naked. You feel left out in the cold.
Whoa, I don't know about feeling naked, homie. Let's calm it down here.
How can you manage to push through these halls when there's the chance that the ammunition you have just won't be enough?
Yeah.
It is a more emotional fear. One of
emotional
inadequacy. Did I get it
feel.
wrong? Did I prepare myself in a poor way? Did I make
I like
a
that.
mistake? Reaching your goal with this overextension in mind
I
feels
like that.
just that more satisfying in the end.
Yeah, because it's stressful. You know, you're like, crap, I hope I didn't make a mistake. Because everyone hates making a mistake, but then you don't know until like 30, 45, 60 minutes later of playing, you know?
Pulled off something that you shouldn't have been able to. You risked it all and made it out the other side the victor. And maybe it was luck. Maybe you figured out the system, but maybe you won't.
I
take that
finished out the
chance
system.
again.
I
In an
used a
article
knife
for
on that
Game
one.
Informer, Koji Oda spoke on Resident Evil as he had originally worked on the SNES version of the game before they switched systems. On speaking about the differences between the original product and what the game became, he said, for example, it was originally set in a place that had nothing to do with reality, more of a hellish place.
Oh yeah, Sweet Home was like monsters and like life-defying mysticism and horror. It wasn't like a biological virus had leaked out in grounded science. It was all mystic and hellish and nightmarish, right? I thought that was the idea.
I'm sure that Oda meant the original environment was more surreal and that it didn't conform to the rules of the real world.
That's what I
pictured
remember.
Flames and demons. But what could be more hellish than being trapped in a place and forced to walk its halls, forced to defend yourself, forced to run your resources ragged, forced to shoot at enemies with no clue if that was the last bullet that you'll ever see.
Nah.
Safe rooms represent a break from this hellish situation.
Yeah.
Safe rooms are specifically designed to give you a moment to breathe. You can stash your items, reevaluate what you have and what you will take with you this time. You can also save if you'd like to make that choice.
Something I always wish Resident Evil did, and I don't remember if they ever actually did it, but I remember Alan Wake did this. Alan Wake eventually had safe rooms too, especially during Alan Wake 2, where the safe rooms were like, it was just a giant light bulb basically, like flashing down on you, or like a floodlight or something, and there was like a coffee thermos. That way you could like take a break or something like that. And I remember during like, oh thank God, like I finally found a safe room, and I would save, and then the light would snap out or the light bulb would break. I always wished something like that would happen in Resident Evil, just from like a scare perspective. Like you're making your way back to like a safe room and you get there and the door is like ripped off the hinges and there's blood everywhere or something like that. And I always felt like that would have fit really well in RE1 or RE2 remake. You know? I always thought it would have. But that would just that might be me looking like back with like, you know, hindsight.
One that must be made with
What's up, Knight? Welcome in.
There is a heft to it. But the music carries most of the emotional and tonal shift in the safe rooms.
Yeah.
The thumping piano that carries along with the wistful synths in the background.
It's so
make
good.
This track feel like a warm blanket.
Yeah. Because it feels safe. It's like, like it's that perfect like reprieve sound. It's that perfect like, oh thank God, like I'm still in danger, but oh, man, I can take a second to breathe before I, you know, hold my breath again and jump back out into the craziness. So freaking good. It does
make you feel safe, like you won't be attacked here, but not that you're necessarily
sigh of relief. Yeah, exactly.
It's as if two children have taken a break from a play fight. The game is telling us that you can catch your breath, but in a few moments, the game will be back on.
Yep.
This is exactly that. I like that. That the song pushes forward as well. This high-pitched, eerie whine carrying on in the background.
Yeah.
It's meant to evoke the unease that we feel here, that there really is no true safety in this house or in this game. There are certain areas in the home that exist as semi-safe rooms, in that monsters will never appear here. The main hall is one of these, and you get pretty used to the fact that when you're out here, you can take a brief break.
I mean, that's also evident of the fact that there's a typewriter here. I feel like any rooms that you run into that have typewriters in them, even if there's not an item box there, typically it's a air quote safe room. However, you can open this door here next to Wesker and you'll get some Zambinos coming in, or you'll get some doggos coming in, you know? Safe spaces being taken away or made unsafe is scary, like Silent Hill 4's apartment or Bloodborne's hunter's dream towards the end. Yeah, exactly like that. I wish there was a moment or two like that in this. And I think it would have added to that layer of dread of, oh God, like something new is here. Like if when they introduced the hunters, if one or two of the safe rooms became unusable because of that. You know what I mean? RE2 Remake pulls one on us. Does it? Plus the RE2 main entrance way where eventually zombies can get in, plus Mr. X following you there. Yeah. There you go.
The other way that we interact with Resident Evil is through puzzles. Other than killing enemies and clearing out hallways, this is our main source of progression.
I like puzzles.
Resident
Puzzles are fun.
Evil has a design philosophy that could best be described as a relay race, or rather 6 relay races all going on at the same time that converge at different points.
6 relay what is that? Wait, I'm going to need an explanation.
We will solve various puzzles throughout the game that all serve a greater purpose. A key will give us access to various rooms in the mansion, but that key is given to us in the service of getting a crest, and that crest is given to us in service of gaining access to another area of the game. And
I think you'd like Blueprints. Oh, I think I saw Zanny playing that. Does anyone know what Blueprints is about? I think I saw some people playing that before. I love games like this. Big fan. So I'm always looking for more games like this. And I am looking for stuff to play next week. So maybe. Because I know we're playing Sunshine this week, and we're going to continue Sunshine next week as well. It's a roguelike puzzle game. Ooh. Might have to look into it. I'll talk to Jun. Jun! Are you here? Probably not, but still. You should definitely do Blueprints. It's fun to play and watch. Can't say I do. I'm interested in it, though. Narina has it. I don't have to buy it. Ooh. Bless Narina. Bless Narina.
And that area contains another key and a crank, and the crank gives us a medal, and the medal gets us up to the lab, and on it goes until we finish the game.
I see now what he means by
does
relay.
Keep you engaged in the case that it is as short as Resident Evil 1 is. If it were extended any longer, then it would surely need more story beats and cutscenes to keep you motivated and moving forward, which Resident Evil 1 doesn't have very much of.
Yeah, there aren't really many story moments. It's all kind of like told through environmental progress rather than actual cutscenes. Like, what is it? There's like 10-15 minutes of cutscenes tops in Resident Evil 1. Pretty sure. Have you ever played Signalis? No, but I think I've heard the name before.
The puzzle.
Oh, Belmore, can you remind me after stream? Mods, remind me after stream about Blueprints, because I do want to look into that. That does sound like a good time.
Puzzles range from very engaging to downright boring.
A lot of papers around to give us background.
Simple
Yeah,
that it
a lot of
isn't
reading.
Worth having a puzzle, but I think most land in the former camp. They tend to require creative solutions from the player, leaving us feeling like we haven't entered a mansion, but some sort of labyrinth.
Oh, I do like that too. And it feels like it more and more as you go through the Spencer Mansion, especially because there's a ton of times where you're reading notes and going through like diaries and going through, lab entries and things like that, where people are like, man, why is this mansion built like this? I don't understand how anyone could live like this. And it turns out like it was always meant to be like a trap. It was always meant to be like a labyrinth. And it's just so interesting to find that out. Because then when you feel it as a player, you're like, who the hell lives like this? And then you find out that it's actually just a trap. And it's like, oh, okay.
This is a feeling that is built on throughout the environment.
Alien, Blade Runner meets H.P. Lovecraft.
For the most part, though, we spend
a
few hours in Resident Evil jumping back and forth between fighting and solving puzzles.
I like all those
and
things.
The puzzles represent a moment to think. Not to think about items and how much we have left, but to think about this puzzle, the here and now.
Yeah, live in the specific moment.
In the moment. We are stripped away from the anxiety-filled hallways full of monsters trying to eat us alive, and allowed some sort of brief, merciful respite from the hell
What is this
the Spencer
puzzle
Mansion.
solution
Heading
going
back
on
to
here?
The story of Resident Evil.
Yeah, let's go to the
Chris
story.
finds Jill's gun. And
I can't believe we just had like a 20-minute tangent of not like. It was like a 20-minute tangent. Literally, all we did was go see Kenneth's body, come back onto the hall, picked up Jill's gun. Oh my god. Have you played Alien Isolation? I didn't really like it. I might go back and try and play it again at some point, but I have a hard time playing horror games that are purely like hide, because I really like the idea of fighting back. And I know Alien Isolation is not one of those things. And I was having a hard time with it because I was just like, I was getting kind of like frustrated more than like having fun. Yeah.
And realizes that he now not only needs to find an escape plan, but also reconnect with his compatriots.
Yep.
As he explores
Gotta
the
go
place,
find Jill
he
and
finds a
Wesker.
hallway covered in blood, and another member of Bravo team dead on a balcony.
Forrest
has been pecked
It's Forrest.
apart by
Milky. Oh my gosh, hi Milky. Oh my gosh, hi. Twirl's hair, but probably mine because hi Milky.
crows, and it's starting to look like this place eats people alive.
Oh,
As
not
Chris
the
arrives
crows.
in a safe room, he is rudely sprayed in the face by some mystery woman. She
Mystery
apologizes as
woman.
she mistook Chris for an undead monster and introduces herself as Rebecca Chambers.
I mean, he does kind of have the face of an undead monster. I get it. What is this 1917 style video game? This is the original Resident Evil. We are going through a retrospective of the original Resident Evil, which came out in 1996. So it turns 30 next year. I'm a massive fan of this franchise, and I reached out to this YouTuber specifically to make sure it was okay that I react to their content, and they were totally okay with it. So we're kind of just getting the behind the scenes stuff. And funny enough, they're only just getting into the story of it now. So if you literally, if you just want to lurk or chat and vibe with us, they are just getting into the story now after 38 minutes of like build up and talking about behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, that's my kind of video. Yippee. You know what? We love a yapper. I'm a yapper. That's me.
She was a medic working with Bravo team and escaped into the mansion when they crash
Lore,
landed outside. Rebecca notes that she recently made repairs to the helicopter, but the reason they crashed was due to an issue.
I love the streamer
with
so
the
much.
engine. Clearly something else
you.
went wrong, but we aren't sure what at this point.
That's crazy.
Resident Evil's characters are very simple, but
number one
strong.
bunny fan. Well,
They
I'm
are
number
simple
one
because we don't spend too much time
milky
hearing them
fan
speak throughout
in a
the
bunny
course of
suit.
the game. And why would we? These people are far too busy fighting for their lives to take the time to chat. There aren't many cutscenes in the first game, which doesn't give us a ton of time to get used to the characters, but their performances and the short bouts of dialogue that we do have leave us with a strong impression of who they are.
It is very funny too, because even from like this first interaction with Rebecca, you immediately get that feeling of, oh, something's not right. Like, even though obviously we're in this hellish landscape and like it's a nightmare and all the team's dead except for a few people, it is like, oh, the helicopter was repaired, so we shouldn't have had to crash land. I wonder what's up with that. What are you doing, Milky? What are you doing with these? What are these messages? What is happening? Huh? I'm not real, just suffer with our love. Okay. Just because it's you, though. The truth, that's crazy. Wild, wacky, inflatable arm flailing tube man.
I challenged myself to describe each of the characters in one word because their personalities really can be summed up this succinctly.
Yeah.
I'll read these words.
Oh my God, Thorn.
Chris Redfield, Brute. Jill Valentine, Hero. Barry Burton, Liar.
What the? Wait, Barry's the liar and not Wesker? Oh, Wesker's probably traitor.
Albert Wesker, Shady.
Okay, that's fine too. Okay.
And finally, Rebecca Chambers, Plucky.
Ooh, Plucky's a good one. I like that word. I do like that.
Most of the characterization comes from the performances, which I
Don't do my boy
think
Barry
are
like
good,
that. That's
even though they are
crazy.
extremely poorly written.
Oh my God,
This was
Sheree.
mostly due to translation issues during the development of the game. Most of the lines sound awkward, stunted, and odd.
Oh, of course.
But the tone with which these lines are read provides all of the context that you'll need for these characters.
There's nothing else you could have done anyway. It's good you're here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But it's strange. I serviced the helicopter recently.
Chris's lines are read as if Superman himself is reading them.
They are, especially in his interactions with Rebecca and RE1. Because we played Chris's side. They're so awkward because he's not even that much older than Rebecca. He's 25 and Rebecca is 18. And he is talking to her like she is like a 10-year-old most of the time. It's wild.
To the point, but a gung-ho attitude behind the words that he speaks. Rebecca Chambers, on the other hand, is enthusiastic, ready to help, and ready to serve. It is difficult to explain what makes a character like Rebecca Chambers so interesting to me. She immediately became my favorite character in the game. Maybe it's
favorite character. You should play Resident Evil 0.
Because she feels like a bit of an outsider in this world.
Was it a one-to-one translation? I think it's only in English. The original, I think it always had an English voice cast, didn't it? I don't think I've ever heard a Japanese dub for RE1.
Recently and is the youngest member of this mansion crew. She isn't quite a grizzled veteran of the force, but is approaching this deeply dark and tragic situation with a brightness that is
so is Milky. Milky's a cutie too.
Around her. Rebecca Chambers is the best character
it's only in
in
English,
the first Resident Evil game, and I rest my case.
I mean, she is Oh,
Rebecca asks
that's not what I expected. Oh my gosh.
if she can help Chris out by exploring the mansion with him, a question which will have rippling effects.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
At first, I assumed this would mean that we would be escorting Rebecca around the mansion, and that was something that I did not want to do. But Rebecca, being the absolute beast that she is, will stay back in this room even if we say yes.
Crazy thing, I told her yes, that I wanted her help. And I didn't know what this meant because I'd seen tons of speedruns where you just tell her no. What yes means, though, is that you are trusting Rebecca to kind of go out on her own and do various small story things. And then that will re-intersect with you during the game. Like needing the serum for Richard, or having to make the V-Jolt for Plant 42. So it's very interesting to see how, like, that's just how they prefaced it, you know?
Quite the power move, Chambers. Nice job.
What did Rebecca say in RE1 Remake, how she got there? She doesn't mention RE0 at all. And it's one of the weird things, 'cause, like, RE0, I think, was in development the same time as RE1 Remake. So, like, they had to have had communications and, like, spillover in some sort of conversation. But it just feels like they didn't. Because there's so many things that just don't fit and don't ever get, like, communicated. Especially because, like, she literally, like, Resident Evil 0 is just a Resident Evil 1 level traumatic event. Like, she goes through a lab, she deals with a tyrant, she deals with a giant-ass final boss and a crazy mansion full of puzzles and monsters and shit like that. Goes from that immediately into RE1 and then doesn't talk about any of it. She doesn't talk about Trevor, she doesn't talk about Billy Cohen, she doesn't talk about any of that. And it's like, oh, so a lot of people don't like Zero for that reason, because it feels like it's developing and building up Rebecca as a character, and then RE1 throws it away because it almost feels like Zero didn't matter, which is weird, you know? PTSD. It's less of, it's not even PTSD because she doesn't even talk about it. She acts like nothing happened, you know? Really weird entry in the series. I've actually never finished it. I've only finished the train, and then I usually stop playing around there because I really disliked the keeping items on the floor. I might go back and play it because Your Favorite Son does have a video on Zero, and I might make it part of the Resident Evil retrospective, but I would probably do like a stream doesn't end until I beat the game kind of thing. I beat the best part of the game? Yeah. I've heard.
In a nearby room, we can find a note titled Keeper's Diary. It seems to be written by some sort of guard that was stationed here, who also notes there were researchers working in the building.
I wonder if there's like a co-op mod for it. That would be cool.
Creatures that looked like gorillas without skin. After some accident in a laboratory, the guards were told to wear protective suits.
Hunters.
The journal quickly degrades
or
as
lickers.
The keeper started to feel a variety of different symptoms. Among these were the symptoms
itchy
of
tasty
itchiness and the craving for human flesh.
Itchy tasty.
Resulting in the long-standing Resident Evil meme, itchy tasty.
Yeah!
The overarching puzzle for this section of the game is to acquire 4 crests. These crests must be placed in a placard on the terrace outside. This is all in service of unlocking a door to the next area.
Yeah, the itchy tasty. I always thought it was itchy scratchy, but yeah, itchy tasty.
Mansion and requires us to find multiple keys that unlock the various doors of this home. Certain doors are marked with swords, which will be opened with a sword key. Others are marked with shields and can be opened with a shield key.
One door is the shield key. And that's to get into Yawn's attic.
And so forth. We can kill a living plant in the greenhouse by using a chemical in the fountain's pump. This will give us the armor key.
Well, I'll show you some
a bar
pump.
room that contains a
Let me tell you.
will allow us to examine some sheet music. And as Chris attempts to play this musical instrument, we get a startling revelation. Chris can't even read.
It's so real though. It genuinely feels like playing RE1, or like RE1 Classic. This feels like such a true statement. It actually is. Chris unfortunately can't read music. But like, Chris is so dumb. He is so stupid. Like, he feels like a cheesy 90s action hero. In some ways it's good. In other ways it's like, whoa, man, you are acting like you're right out of an action movie. You're not Bruce Willis. This isn't Die Hard. You know? It's crazy.
Oh, he can't read music.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Luckily, Rebecca Chambers can read music. We can leave her to learn.
She
Moonlight
can
Sonata
read
on
music.
the piano, and once she figures it out, she opens a secret.
Don't pick on Chris.
passageway.
I love Chris. He's just dumber than a bag of bricks. Okay? He's just really stupid. He hasn't learned how to punch boulders yet, okay?
Nearby.
That's my bitch.
Inside, we can pull out. The
Bro,
gold
what is
emblem,
this song
but
that
causes
keeps
the secret
playing?
door to close behind us. In good old Indiana Jones fashion, we can replace the gold
Yeah.
emblem with another lesser.
Hey, thank you for the soup. It all went to the muscles and pecs. Listen, ain't that a story? I feel that.
Valued one from the main hall. We can effectively swap them out, which will give us the shield key. With these things in hand, we can generally solve the puzzles to get the crests.
I like that he just left Rebecca. Look at
Shield
this.
key. With these things in hand, we can
He just went right by her. He didn't even acknowledge her. He didn't even acknowledge her. What? That's crazy. Yeah, Chris, are you all right?
can generally
Bit too
solve the
relatable.
puzzles
That's
to
crazy.
get the
I don't know what you're talking
crests,
about.
all but
I would
one.
never.
One crest requires us to destroy
I
a
would never.
statue and place the blue gem inside into a tiger bust.
Yep.
Another requires that we solve a painting puzzle in the art hall that sees us activating switches underneath portraits, ascending by age. And the third sees us moving some busts onto two grates in
Busts.
the armor room
Anyway.
before activating a switch. If we don't cover these grates, the room will be filled with poison. While going about these tasks, we can eventually find a shotgun, a weapon that is a massive upgrade from our current Beretta pistol.
Absolutely, especially because the shotgun, you can aim it upwards and get an instant headshot on most of the zombies.
Shotgun can be taken off the wall in a specific room, but it will activate a trap that will see the house trying to crush us as we leave. This can only be rectified by pulling another old Indiana Jones and replacing the functioning shotgun with a broken one of similar weight.
Broken shotgun.
The Resident Evil 1 shotgun is probably one of my favorite guns in a video game, mainly
It's
because it
pretty
is
good.
so satisfying to use.
Yeah.
First of all, it is foreshadowed quite a bit before we actually get access to it.
With the broken shotgun, because you find the broken shotgun pretty early comparatively.
We can find shotgun shells all over the place, so we know that we'll get it at some point, and we're waiting for that sweet, sweet firepower.
Yeah.
But it also breeds anticipation because it means we get to access more ammunition, functionally extending our current supply by double.
Yippee!
But when we get it, it surpasses even that anticipation that's been bred for the first chunk of the game. Dealing with zombies becomes particularly easy as aiming up with the shotgun will explode the heads of the zombies that we're fighting.
Yeah!
Previously, it would
That's my
take a
favorite.
random amount of shots to take a zombie down,
Yep.
and even then they could return to fight once again.
But just one
if we
aimed upward
blast the
shotgun.
brain out of these fools, then there's no coming back, and the hallway is effectively cleared in one bullet.
And that is such a good feeling. And especially in RE1 Original, like, this felt so consistent. This felt so freaking consistent. And then in Resident Evil Remake, this felt so inconsistent. I was so shocked how many times as Jill I would land a headshot at like point blank range. And I wouldn't get the headshot, and it would leave them close enough and not knocked down that they would then bite me. I was gonna scream.
Getting a headshot with the shotgun is so satisfying.
I've never
The
played
noise
Doom.
It makes,
I
the
kinda want
blood
to at some
spray,
point.
The body thunking to the floor.
Oh,
If
yeah.
Resident
It's a good-
Evil's
good sound
goal was to make
effects.
the player desire violence, then it has done its job.
Yeah.
And done it well.
Absolutely.
During one of our excursions into the mansion, we can also find the will of a researcher who was infected and didn't want to live as one of those creatures.
I
Most
will
of the backstory
someday.
in Resident Evil 1
Maybe.
is delivered through memos like this. The story will eventually come to a head, but the lore is mostly communicated through small notes. This is done far better in the remake, in my opinion.
Yeah.
While some of the original memos do provide a slight context to the game, the remake dives into this a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's literally just like it's talking to, or not talking to, it's listening to other people's random accounts of living in the mansion and doing work and then being like, something's not right. I don't like the fact that we're feeding these zombie dogs or like making this lizard gorilla thing. And it's like, yeah, probably not. And then you catch more and more of them and more people start to kind of share this sentiment and then like get infected and then everyone's dead. And it's like, oh. And then John and Ada, you know? I think it's Ada in the original too. It wasn't Alma in RE1 Director's Cut.
Obtaining the
It was
fourth crest,
Ada.
though, is our ticket to getting the heck out of this mansion proper.
Yeah.
The final crest is actually in an attic room, isolated all by itself.
It's
But when we
Richard.
get up there, we're met with a terrifying sight. Richard from Bravo team has already been killed outside, and when we get into the attic,
What?
we are attacked.
No, he's not. That just means you were too slow. You didn't say, oh, it's because he doesn't have Rebecca with him. He can't tell that it's a snake bite. So Richard's just dead. Oh, that's the difference. Okay.
Attacked by a giant snake. The snake's name is Yawn, and as you can tell, it is not friendly.
No.
We are not really supposed to actually fight Yawn here. We just need to get the crest and get out.
Yeah,
but that's a bit tougher than it looks.
This always made me
is
laugh.
Mostly because of how the room is designed and how much space Yawn takes up. But it's not just that we don't want to fight Yawn and possibly die. It's that we don't want to get hit at all because Yawn has poison in them fangs. If we do get hit during this battle,
venom.
then Rebecca Chambers will come to the rescue. She will save the poisoned Chris by running to the other side of the mansion and grabbing some serum in the
The
same
DS version
room
has
that we
a
met her in.
CPR minigame.
We get in and
Stop. Listen, I understand you love Rebecca. Stop it, please.
entire section where we control Rebecca, running across the house to help out her companion. If we don't get hit during the battle, then this just never happens, which is absolutely insane. This is another great strength of Resident Evil, just how dynamic it is. The game will have multiple endings based on what we do or don't do throughout the course of the story, but little things like this are just massive. You can entirely skip a section where you play your companion just because you did so well in a battle.
Wait, so then is there a segment where you get to play as Barry in RE1 Classic? Because I don't think I knew about that. I always just assumed no. Hey, take care, Clarity. Bye-bye. I wonder if there is just a moment where you can play as Barry. I don't remember there being one, but I could be wrong.
But it fits. It makes sense. If you didn't get poisoned, there's no reason for this scene. It makes sense within the world and within the rules that the game itself establishes.
So pretty sure there is.
After
Okay.
Chambers rescues Chris, she tells the big, dumb, musically illiterate brute to be more careful moving forward.
Quite literally.
And with the final crest, we can now journey through that door that's been locked for quite some time.
Oh yeah, can she heal you here too? Super convenient.
This door will give way to the courtyard outside, which is filled with mutant dogs, easily one of the most annoying and threatening enemies in the game.
Yeah, RE1 dogs are like, you can like stun lock them with the pistol, but if there's multiple dogs, it is very difficult to deal with them.
Not particularly tanky, they outmaneuver us in just about every way. Here we can use a newly found crank to divert a pool of water in our way.
They're pretty rough.
This will give us access to an elevator and a hidden passageway.
I
This
see you,
passageway
mage.
leads to a completely different building called the guardhouse. If it wasn't already clear, something was going on at this mansion, something sinister.
The
It wasn't
guardhouse,
just a
huh?
home, but some sort of research project. A
I
research
wonder.
project that went south. This guardhouse will present a new set of puzzles, but will ultimately function the same as the mansion, but on a smaller scale.
It is always really funny to me that it's basically like rinse and repeat to a smaller scale. Every single trope from the mansion. It's have small area to explore, slightly open-ended, but really only one path eventually, and then solve some puzzles, beat a boss, leave, return to the mansion.
Our goal in the beginning is to get keys that will allow us to access the various regions of the building.
And that's
These
exactly
keys
the
are
same
mostly
thing
one
in the
that is
guardhouse.
done, unlike the mansion keys, which are used for multiple doors. Chris will find a memo in a back room that contains a report on something called Plant 42.
Plant
After an
42.
accident in the lab, one plant began growing at an incredible speed.
Oh yeah, and it busted through like a steel floor and caused a giant flood with all the sharks to escape. We got a lot of Vulcans roaming around.
It was affected by something called the T virus. The plant's roots have spread throughout the house, and to make matters worse, a scientist broke the water tank in the basement, filling it with water.
That's crazy.
The plant's roots are in this very same basement and can be targeted there to try and destroy it. The researchers luckily developed some sort of chemical called vjolt that can disable these plant roots.
Too bad Chris is too stupid to understand basic math, because it is quite literally like do basic math to make vjolt go, and he can't do it because he's like, well, I don't understand chemicals. I don't know about them gosh darn chemicals. You know what I'm saying?
Basement through a hidden ladder allows us to access the laboratory that the document talks about. It's a cold and dark place, hidden from the outside world. And while the manor did feel distinctly unappealing and terrifying, it also felt like at some point it was a warm place. This lab is, in contrast, very cold.
I like
and
that.
rejecting. It's
Also, one of my favorite songs, partially because I used to binge watch Bokba Soup a lot. Now I just lurk him sometimes. This song always just fills me with joy. It's called Aqua Ring. And this version of it and the one in Remake are just so freaking good.
seems as if it has been and always was that way. We can venture through the water in the lab to try and drain this place, but a shark is swimming around. Once the water is drained with the flip of a switch, though, this shark becomes a problem of the past as it flops around helpless on the floor.
Get revenge! Always get revenge. I'm just saying, guys. Always get revenge.
Upstairs, we can find another.
Have you seen his biceps? Doesn't need basic math. I guess that's true.
Substance that will defeat Plant 42.
I guess that's fair.
It even provides a list of different chemicals and their colors so that
Shark
we can
deserved it. I
identify
agree.
them. We'll need this shortly, but before that, we enter a nearby door and Chris is captured by Plant 42.
Yep.
Luckily, ever the savior, Rebecca Chambers jumps in to help us. We can then play Rebecca once again as she heads into a nearby chemical storage room to whip up the V-Jolt.
Oh, this is a funny thing. I thought if you told Rebecca that you didn't want help, that this wouldn't happen. Because it happened in mine, but in playthroughs that I watch, it doesn't happen at all. And you just, as Chris, have to fight Plant 42 on your own. I wonder what the difference is. Maybe it's like an invisible affection system that like Yawn shows up for. And if you get bit, that like it increases the affection enough with Rebecca that she then shows up for the Plant 42 fight. Interesting.
This requires us to solve probably my favorite puzzle in the game. V-Jolt is created by combining the various chemicals in this storage room.
Yippee!
The formula is actually written on the wall as a simple math problem. We have to combine the chemicals based on this problem, and while it is pretty simple, I actually ended up writing out the formula on paper and plotting it out before I took action.
I feel like I did that my first time playing this too, just because it's like, just to make sure, you know? 3 shots with a flame round can kill Plant 42 without V-Jolt. Well, flame rounds are exclusive to Jill, remember? And they're playing as Chris, because grenade launcher is Jill only.
I love when you can easily do this with puzzles.
Bye,
in
Thorn!
games. It's not required
Bye-bye!
here, but it makes the whole thing feel a bit more real. As Rebecca, we can take the V-Jolt and head downstairs into the basement to apply it to the plant's roots. This doesn't quite kill the thing, though, and we still have to defeat it as Chris. This requires unloading a ridiculous amount of bullets into the bulb.
Wait!
I would call its head. Once we destroy
You
it,
do?
we find a nearby helmet key, which is for some doors in the mansion.
I thought it
that we
killed
were
it
never able to
immediately.
unlock. Heading outside, Rebecca checks on Chris again.
Huh.
We got to the root of the problem.
I hate it here. I forgot he said that.
She gives us Richard's radio, which she picked up from his body. Brad, the helicopter pilot, has been trying to get in contact with Team Alpha to pick them up, but the radio isn't communicating back to
oh my god, dude.
Chambers decides to head back to the nearby safe room and whip up a serum. Outside this room, we're reunited with Wesker as he's firing bullets into nearby creatures.
It is really funny though, because this scene is so different Because if Rebecca helps you save Richard then dies down here, or dies during Yawn. I can't remember which it is. And during that, you then have like a scene where you're trying to like comfort Rebecca, but like he's not very good at it, and it's just really awkward.
Wesker claims he and Jill were attacked and they got split up.
Guess we found the root of the problem. I hate it here.
Hand,
get me out of here.
Chris to head back into the mansion.
Get me out of here.
Once over. Since we have a new key, we should be able to access previous areas that were closed off to us. When we get back to the mansion, everything changes. Suddenly, we're treated to a first-person cutscene.
Oh, the hunter reveal.
The path we just
so
walked.
Good.
Surely a heinous beast based on the way that it moves. And when it arrives,
it's so
we have a new type of enemy.
Freaking
entirely.
cool.
These are called the hunters.
Yeah.
And when we first face them, they can be brutal.
Hunters
they
are
lunge
scary.
Us, they jump around. They're as fast as the dogs, but do more damage. And if we're felled by one of these beasts, they straight up cut our head off.
Yeah. Oh my God, what an angle. Oh my gosh, dude, look at that. It just took the piece of the head right off. We never ran into this, but I think it is quite literally, if you are in a low enough health state, the hunters do have a chance of instantly killing you and decapitating you. And we never had this happen, but there were several occasions where I was worried it might. So, yeah.
Now, a new enemy type isn't the craziest thing ever, so why exactly does this change
my
everything,
eyes.
as I said before? Well, when we left the mansion, we had been there for a while. We were solving puzzles, we were killing zombies, and slowly over the course of the game, we were getting comfortable.
Yep.
We had started to exert our
Hey,
presence
thanks for
over
the
this
3 months.
physical
I
domain.
appreciate it.
And when you start to clear out
This is
hallways,
Resident Evil
those
Retrospective.
hallways suddenly don't become a problem anymore. You aren't afraid of them because there's nothing there.
True.
And getting to know the layout means that you're familiar with this place.
And then adding the hunters in it adds a new twist and makes it scary again, which is such a good, and that's kind of what Crimson Heads do in Remake as well. And it brings that threat sooner than just the hunters, which is also really good in my opinion.
It's no longer a strange and derelict home. It's the C-shaped hallway or the art gallery or the main hall. Not that terrifying room with a bunch of enemies that I avoided. That fear of the unknown that was ever so present at the beginning of the game.
It's such a good shift.
Gone. This makes a return when we leave the manor and head to the guardhouse. We're back into the
He dies during
again,
Yawn.
Exploring
in the remake, if you keep him alive, he dies in the Neptune Sharks. I just don't remember already. I can't believe I forgot. Because I know he dies to Neptune in Remake because we just did that. But I played RE1 Classic not that long ago. Oh my God, I just forgot.
Areas
I guess.
and waiting for whatever means to pop out at us from the dark. But when we return to the mansion,
these snakes,
feel a
man.
safety oncoming.
These snakes, man. I hate those snakes.
Because maybe we'll be exploring
especially in Remake
areas, but we're ultimately in a place that we've explored before. We know how to master that place. We know the threats that it holds. So when the hunters are introduced, I said that everything has changed because it has. The hunter presents a new, stronger threat, one that will permeate the house, just as the zombies did.
Open doors politely real.
We must grapple with that threat once again.
Ironically, they do something that I mentioned before. In Remake, they actually break down a couple doors and remove that plane of safety between separated rooms. I know it happens in there's a room outside of the dining room that connects to a longer hallway that they can break down. I don't remember what the other ones they break down are, but that's the one that I always remember because it always terrified me that door literally gets broken off the hinges and permanently is a broken thing that is just connected now, which is crazy. I wish they did that with a save room.
Learning lessons and going through the painful process of becoming comfortable here.
Oh, I like snakes in general. I just didn't like those snakes. Those snakes cheated.
Comfortable,
big fan of
except
Vexoria the
this
Sun
isn't
Eater.
Our home, and it never was. The new key that we
Yeah, this
gathered
is
in the
not my
guardhouse
home.
will allow us to explore previously untrodden areas of the home.
Hunters are
Upstairs
smart, they
on
do.
the second floor,
They
we
do
can find
be.
a top secret
They are.
note to
They
the head
will.
of the security department. They were getting ready for something called X Day. It seems the members of STARS were meant to be lured into the lab. This was for the ultimate purpose of obtaining research data when they would inevitably fight these strange creatures in the house. They wanted embryos of the creatures collected, except for one called the Tyrant, and the lab ultimately destroyed.
It is always really funny to me too, because like obviously we find this out not even like halfway through the game, or roughly halfway through the game. We find out that the purpose was to lure STARS here and get them to fight the BOWs and fight the zombies, fight the hunters, fight the dogs, fight the chimeras in the basement, and all the different like big ass monsters that they have. And I'm always like, what was the plan with Bravo Team? Was that the plan with Bravo Team, and that Bravo Team just got bodied so bad, and instead of going to the mansion, Rebecca went to the train, and that like threw everything for a loop, so Wesker had to get involved? Is that like what happened? Because Bravo Team like got super bodied. There's only like 2-3 people that make it to the mansion. And one of them dies immediately to birds. The other one gets lost underground somehow. And then Kenneth gets eaten by a single zombie that he just lets walk at him slowly. It's crazy.
It was supposed to look like an accident. This order was written by White Umbrella. Journeying throughout the mansion, we can also obtain the revolver by solving the other side of the tiger bust puzzle, and finally get a rematch with that Yawn character from before.
Yeah.
This time, Yawn attacks in a checker-floored room, and this was the point—
I see somebody asking, will I do the Paul W.S. Anderson movies? Probably not. I don't think I can go through them again. But I will be. I think I'm going to try and go through all of the Resident Evils on stream at some point, just so I have kind of like a collection of me playing them, just because they're some of my favorite games, you know, and just look at it as my own retrospective of enjoying myself and having fun. Because it's like some of these, like I played a ton of. Some of them I've barely played at all. Some of them I never even finished, like Resident Evil 1 Classic or Resident Evil 0. But like, I think going back through the games and then watching kind of like story recaps and behind the scenes stuff is like really interesting. And I want to do that with Metal Gear Solid as well, because surprise, this channel also does some story stuff with Metal Gear Solid. And we played Metal Gear Solid for the first time last month, I believe, towards the beginning of the month, maybe in April. Well, I guess it's June now. It's not May. In April.
in the game that I started to really face some adversity, where I really started to make terms with the strictness of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Yawn is not a mechanically complex boss battle. We will run to opposing sides of the room and fire rounds into the snake as it stalks us across the area.
I mean,
when it gets close, we must dodge its attacks and pump more bullets into it.
You can just
if we are
shoot
hit too
it
many times, then Yawn will consume Chris whole. Now, my failure was in terms of preparation. I hadn't brought enough healing items with me and was generally low on health.
Just shoot! Stop trying to run!
But it made me learn a lesson within the Resident Evil framework, that if combat is pulled off with some sort of mastery, some sort of proficiency, then trading can be completely wiped out. If you don't get hit, you won't lose health.
True.
It's easier said than done, but I basically forced myself to complete this battle without losing health. I tried it many times.
But why? I mean, like, I do get that, though. Most of the Bravo team were mostly medical and scientific personnel who got trained in 6 weeks with a couple veterans. They weren't ready. Oh, and then I think I saw somebody said that Forrest was a sniper but was given a grenade launcher. I get you.
Over and over.
That makes
Some
sense.
of the difficulty.
I mean, yeah, Rebecca was literally the
controls
medic.
of the time. This
They
is
didn't even
solely
have like
because
the
Yawn
trained
himself does
helicopter
not have
pilot
to adhere
Brad.
to the same rules as us. He can slither about unhindered
Crazy.
by the restrictions of the PlayStation 1 controller. It's not a bad fight by any means, but I still hate Yawn with all my heart, and I was happy when he died.
RE1 Classic Yawn, kind of a pain in the ass. RE1 Remake Yawn, definitely way easier. I do remember really disliking this fight in Classic because I got stuck right here, and because it coiled like around me, I couldn't run past it. So I was like, okay, shotgun shot, get hit, shotgun shot, get hit, shotgun shot, get hit, heal, shotgun shot, get hit, and then it was rinse repeat. Yeah.
Beat the beast, we can now crawl into the hole that he made in the floor when he first attacked us. This will lead us to a gravestone, which conceals a ladder underneath. Here we gain access to another underground passage, which eventually wraps back into the house itself. This allows us to use the elevator and eventually find a room that overlooks a nearby
Sabotaged
helipad.
it was.
This becomes the end goal for our mission, both a way to escape and to contact the other members that we've lost.
I remember finding this room, but I didn't take all the loot that was in there because I was afraid that something was going to pop out because it felt like a random room. But then again, I guess it's like if you've never played Resident Evil and you see the helipad, you're like, oh, helipad, I can escape from there kind of thing. You know? Test the control group, then the actual test group. Got it. Makes sense.
Nearby, we can find newspaper reports from the Raccoon Times. These articles detail people being attacked outside of Raccoon City by what seemed to be animals at the time, but were probably mutated beasts from this lab.
Yeah, I think they were just dogs. The Cerberus is what they're called. I think it was just Cerberus that got out into the surrounding mountains area. Were just killing people. So
once we get access to a battery in the mansion, we can leave again and head back to the courtyard. Here we can activate another elevator that allows us to enter the lower part of the courtyard without diverting the water, revealing another underground section of this winding maze.
And into the tunnels. Tunnels is, I think, across both games, my least favorite part. And I think it's just the added tension of the freaking boulder. And especially in original, because there's no freaking item box down here. And it makes me so mad.
This section seems to be less official and mostly carved out of rock. Pretty quickly, we'll find Enrico down here, the captain of the Bravo team squad of stars. Our time with him is very brief, as he quickly suggests that Chris has double-crossed the team before being shot and killed by someone in the shadows.
Ah, yes, it was definitely
Clearly,
Chris.
someone is covering up what's happening here.
Everyone knows
possibly
it's definitely
someone
Chris.
from within stars themselves. We can navigate these tunnels a bit further, and we eventually get our second full boss battle of this game with Black Tiger. I just like...
You mean optional? What do you mean second full boss fight?
To quickly point out here that I'm not a big fan of spiders, and
I'm not either. At least not when they look like this, because it's like... Spiders can be cool, though. I do like... it's so weird because I'm not afraid of like normal spiders, but when they get like big like this, that's where I'm like, oh, get me out of here.
I can imagine that the animals chosen to be mutated in this game were based on the fact that they rank pretty highly on lists of people's biggest fears.
Snakes, sharks, spiders. Hunters are just hunters, and then crows? Question mark. I think the crows were just, they did that for Alfred Hitchcock birds, you know?
A snake, a spider, and a shark so far. There's another section in the guardhouse where we are first introduced.
Oh, also, the chimeras. Oh, if people are afraid of dogs, I guess I could see that too. Like Cujo was probably like popular at the time, or at least like brought up. And then also the chimeras are like bugs in general, you know?
To a smaller version of the spider's enemy. These things are obviously still huge and crawl on the walls with a thunking sound.
Oh yeah,
and this was the trial that Resident Evil had specifically for me. To face these monsters, beasts, ones that I have feared for nearly my entire life.
Yeah, I hope they keep them in other remakes too.
Grin and bear. And this is part of why Resident Evil is so punishing, because its systems never flinch and never waver. They force the player to conform.
Seeing all the small spiders pop out creeps me out.
In being beaten down, one that's a bit less obvious and more subtle than the monsters and scares.
Ooh.
But though I was biting my cheeks and it required many attempts,
were there bees in the original? I don't think so. There were in remake, but it wasn't like, they weren't like a massive source of like issue, because like you just use the insecticide and then you see one getting the wind crest so you can get the magnum, and I think that's it.
And I was happy when he died.
Oh, that explosion! Wait, that is crazy. I want to see that again. I love that it's like look how cartoonish it is. Like just and you can see just turn into a pile of legs is insane. That's like a Mortal Kombat level fatality.
Was happy when he died. Just before the fight with the spider, we get access to a flamethrower, but quickly must place this weapon back after leaving, because it's needed to open a door moving forward.
I did not. Oh wait, did I use the flamethrower in this fight? I think I did. I think I went back in and used the flamethrower just to kill Black Tiger. I do remember that now.
This is a temporary item, one that would be too powerful if the player was allowed to use it for the end sections of the game. While exploring the mansion and these underground tunnels, we can find 2 books. These books have medals hidden inside, and these are our tickets to the final.
It's cathartic seeing that. I
area of
agree.
Resident Evil, the
Small spiders
laboratory.
can cause poison.
We can also collect some MO
Poison's
discs
so
on the way.
frustrating.
Their purpose isn't clear when collecting them, but we know it must be important. The medals open a massive...
Does anyone know what MO disc stands for? I just need Mo discs, guys. I need them Mo discs. Like, I was always curious, but I don't think I ever found out.
Secret elevator in a fountain, which then leads to a ladder taking us even deeper into this mystery facility.
I love that the Aqua
When we
Ring
get down
theme
there,
is
we
still
find a lab
playing.
that's been overrun with the undead. It seems that this is where the experiments originated and where the accidents that we've heard about happened.
Modus
You
operandi.
can find a note downstairs from one of the researchers.
Like, it is MO. Like motive. Okay. Interesting.
He had written the note to his daughter, Ada. The note was sort of his last will, his last words to his daughter as he realized that he was infected. This note becomes a part of a puzzle when he gives us the codes to the door locks around the facility.
Wait. It was his daughter? In Remake, it's like his wife, but I guess or like love interest, because they wanted to change that so it matched what Ada said in Resident Evil 2. Okay.
The goal in the lab is ultimately to get power to the elevator.
Magneto
but there's a lot
optical
more that
discs.
we can do as well. First, we can find some
For
slides
mutant
downstairs that can be placed in a
kind.
projector on the first floor. These detail the different experiments that this company named Umbrella were involved in. They were mutating animals with some sort of virus and creating biological weapons. But the real shocker here is that Wesker himself was involved. After the accident, the facility's security had been
Mistranslation.
completely wiped out.
Makes
And they
sense.
had to ensure that no outsiders would get their hands on the research data. They were concerned about STARS interfering and the press leaking the information to the public, so a cover-up was in store. Obviously, this didn't go the way that Umbrella had planned, and if we make it out alive, their goals would be thwarted.
It's also really, really funny because if you play Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica, especially, you'll hear about it that Chris and Jill, having returned to Raccoon City, immediately are like, hey, Raccoon City government and like US government and Raccoon City Police Department, hey guys, Umbrella's a piece of shit. They got a bunch of zombies up in the mountains. The mansion exploded. We barely survived. There was a bunch of crazy shit going down, and everyone's like, where's your proof? Where's your proof? You ain't got any. That's just a crazy story. Yeah, and Chief Irons was in Umbrella's pocket anyway. So it's really funny because literally they didn't even need a cover story. Just no one believed them. Literally just no one believed them that Umbrella could possibly do any wrong. You know? We know Resident Evil is fiction because the stock market did something and made Umbrella crash in RE4. Well, it was after RE2 happened and RE3, then it was, okay, this is Umbrella's fault. Then it was like official, hey, this is Umbrella's fault. But RE1 and like during like some of RE3, they're talking about it like, man, we got back to the city and no one believed us. Which is so funny to me. Yeah, Raccoon City was Umbrella's playground. Yeah, absolutely.
While we're in the lab, we can access 3 separate rooms that contain password generators. We can place the MO discs in these machines to get 3 passwords that will give us entry to the holding cells down here.
Yippee!
This will spit out 3 different Bible
Blue
verses.
Umbrella is so odd.
Specifically,
I'm so like, we got so many small teaser things at the end of Resident Evil 7. And this is me taking a little bit of a tangent. We got small teaser things at the end of Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 7's DLC, and then at the end in some throwaway lines in Resident Evil 8. Like, the BSAA are now the bad guys and using zombies as soldiers. Which is like, what happened? Because the BSAA are now the bad guys. And they kind of started hinting to that at being a potential in Revelations and Revelations 2, which is kind of what happened there. But Resident Evil 7, it's just, oh, hey, here's Blue Umbrella. And it's like, ooh. And Chris is part of it? Ooh, I don't know about that. And then we get to the end of Resident Evil 8, and it's, wait, what's happening? Like, why is the BSAA now evil? And why is Chris running his, like, own ragtag group of, like, rogue agents? Like, what's going, where's Jill? Where's the rest of the people that were in the BSAA? You know? Oh my God. Turn around for a couple minutes and you go, evil. Well, he's not evil. It's just, that's why it's confusing, because, like, we still don't know. We, like, they introduced this concept of an idea in Resident Evil 7, and then at the end of Resident Evil 8, and the DLC we got was about Rose and not about the fact that the BSAA is evil. You know? Was it the zombie soldier thing based on a Nazi experiment IRL? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. Veltro really exposed some of the BSAA's seedier elements. Yes, and that was during Revelations. So, but yeah, it's just complicated. This is why, like, I really hope we get a Resident Evil 9 soon, or something, and give us like a proper Resident Evil 9. Like, I liked the Winter Saga, but like, give me Chris, give me Jill, give me Leon again, give me Claire, give me the gang back together fighting against, like, who is this evil conglomerate in the background. Put him in some death, like, trap in a mansion, and like, just do Resident Evil 7 again. But like, give me known Resident Evil characters, please. Or put him in space. That'd be kind of cool.
Genesis 22:16-18. This is God's covenant with Abraham, and could reference what the
books of the
BSAA were trying to do here,
leader wrote in Revelations 7. Oh, interesting.
Not a son as Abraham had in this chapter,
as they came back in Dead Island. Yeah,
twisted type of offspring.
Death Island?
The MO
I think it's Death Island.
Turning on power to
the Netflix one. I know you're talking about.
Us to head into the mechanical part of the lab.
Oh, there's the chimeras. There they are. That's another, I imagine this would be a scary point for some people, being afraid of like bugs like this.
Of pipes and churning machines, this place is also plagued with our final enemy type. These are the chimera, a offspring between human DNA and that of a fly.
It's with flies? I don't think I knew that. I think I even read the file and I just didn't like process it entirely. Yeah, these bitches, absolutely.
Are grotesque, fast, and fearsome. I tried to avoid them at all cost. Once we gather all three...
They also apparently have an insta-kill mechanic from hanging from the ceiling.
Passwords, we can finally head to the cells where we find Jill being held.
Oh.
This is what our goal was from the beginning, to find her, and here she is, trapped on the other side of a door, inaccessible.
Yeah.
We'll have to head to the end of the
skinless
game
gorilla thing always confused me.
Her, but
I feel like the skinless gorilla thing may have been for Lickers, and we just never actually see it, because I don't think it's the chimeras. I don't think it's supposed to be them, you know. But yeah, homage to the fly. Yeah.
Time to take this thing the whole way. As we head to the elevator, Rebecca Chambers shows up. Wouldn't have it any other way. The elevator takes us down into the lower levels, where Wesker is already waiting for us with a gun pointed towards Chris.
Wesker with
Chris
a gun.
confronts him about being a part of Umbrella.
Wesker you're
admits to being
pathetic.
Part of the organization, but it seems that he's actually
Wesker,
working for himself. Wesker ends
you're
up
a
shooting
failure.
Rebecca, and now he's gone too far. He takes Chris into the next room and shows him prime stock that Umbrella has been developing. A massive monster floating in a tube full of fluid.
I love this. I don't know what it is about this. And I say this because now I've finally played Fallout 1 and 2. This looks like default male Fallout 1 and 2 model. Am I wrong? Am I crazy for saying this? It just kind of looks like that. I don't know what it is. Every time I look at this, I'm like, oh, damn, valid, but sheesh, what does that mean? Resident Evil 1 voice acting is in the same realm as Symphony of the Night. No, I think Symphony of the Night's a little bit better than RE1. I put it on the same page as RE2. I'm observing camera angle looking at Genova, kinda. I see that. Needs more blue? I mean, if they were in the vault suit, sure. I'm thinking more like Raider armor. Bye, Jungles. Mwah.
A powerful being, the Tyrant. Chris laughs at the failure that they've created, and in an attempt to prove him wrong, Wesker frees the beast.
Yep.
It breaks out.
That's my
heading
boy.
for
What's
Chris,
up,
but
Joel?
ultimately switching his target
Hello?
to Wesker at the last second and effectively killing his.
I love how he's just painted in like cranberry sauce. My man's just out here getting obliterated and dunked in the Kool-Aid, man.
Creator. We of course then have to fight.
I love
the thing.
Resident Evil,
it's
man.
Ultimately, a very simple boss.
Freaking love
battle
this
because
franchise.
This won't be the last one. It's a bit of a fake out, so when you work up to this point, you're kind of disappointed. A resounding feeling of that was it.
Oh my god, so many people said that when we played this on stream. And like, mind you, it was my first time playing original, but I'd played remake several times. And then even when we played through Jill's campaign and remake, and we killed Tyrant here, so many people were like, well, that was it? Kind of anticlimactic. And I'm like, no, that wasn't it, guys. Just give us some time.
But the
Give
game
us some
hasn't
time!
played its last card yet, and in its final moments, Resident Evil will laugh in our face and loudly proclaim, no, that was definitely not it.
Definitely not it.
Once we take down the Tyrant, we can leave its body behind with Wesker's and make a break for the exit. Or as Chris puts it in the next scene,
How about Captain Wesker?
He is sleeping with the ultimate failure.
Rebecca
Wait, so something I do remember though, I don't remember which scenario it is or whose campaign it was, but I always really like this one. When you turn the corner to go release the lock, to leave the area and then come back, Wesker's body is gone. And I always really like that because it is canon, obviously, that he survives because he's a major player and villain in stuff that happens in Code Veronica. He's a major villain and major player in stuff that happens in Resident Evil 4 in the background with Ada. And then obviously the main villain in Resident Evil 5. So it's like, man, I wish they just kept that for all of the scenes because I think it just would have been cooler.
meets us in the hallway. As it turns out, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. When we take the elevator back upstairs,
yeah, like look at her. This is a bulletproof vest, and Wesker shot her in the vest. That always like confuses me. Like Wesker, like you made the stars. You know that these are bulletproof vests. Why did you shoot her there?
Turns out she was wearing a bulletproof vest. When we take the elevator back upstairs, she tells Chris that there's a ton of research in this lab on the Tyrant virus.
Wesker likes Rebecca. Oh, you're right. There's the photo of her that he has at his office. Wait, you're actually right. I forgot. He has like the candid photo of her in like her basketball gear and like the short shorts and the tank top. I forgot about that. Damn.
This research, she thinks they should blow the place up and kill the virus.
Wesker had a deagle. He's got it's a special custom samurai edge. I don't think it's like any more powerful than like everyone else's handguns. Everyone else just has like, 9mm Berettas that are like slightly customized from Kendo, who's like the gunsmith in town. But yeah.
We send her off to do this, and since
I think it was just a funny Easter egg. I mean, it's not canon.
Are released.
This
means that we can go rescue Jill.
Not canon, right?
Us up to the helipad. On the way, we get a final
the
call
REA
on the
pre-order. There you
radio
go.
from Brad.
Samurai
He's
Edge.
about to run out of fuel, and we'll be leaving if
Not
he doesn't
Brad.
get any response from survivors.
Not
we have to
Brad.
get some sort of sign
Oh,
to him
no.
soon. As Rebecca turns on the self-destruct sequence in the lab,
gosh.
we have 3 minutes until detonation. Monsters begin to swarm our location, and Rebecca and Jill hold them off while we head to the helipad.
I always love this because if you rescue Chris using Jill, Chris is like, let me have my action hero moments too. And then runs off. And it's like, Chris, you have a handgun. And there's hunters and chimeras coming. You ain't winning shit, homie.
Up there, we can set off a signal flare to alert Brad, but the tyrant bursts through the floor
I
at the
love
last
that.
minute, and we have to fight
So
him.
freaking
This is
cool
our
looking.
final battle of the game. We have only moments left, and we need to destroy this thing.
It's so
we don't
freaking
actually
cool.
have to fight it with our weapons. We just need to survive long enough for Brad to drop down a rocket launcher from the helicopter. And
I
one
love that, dude. The hand claw extending and just the swipe. I love Tyrant. He's so cool
round
looking.
was the mutated beast in. This is easier said than done, though, because the tyrant is now much faster, much angrier, and much more aggressive. He will do swiping attacks, charge attacks, and is just much better than we are. We can run him in circles and
Chris
negate
punches
some
hunters
attacks,
in the later
but we
games.
must be very precise.
Oh, he does in
Once we put
Revelations,
an
right?
Explosive round in this thing, though, it is destroyed, and we
And
get
then
one
Carlos
final
does as well.
live-action sequence as the entire base explodes, and our heroes fly off into the sunset.
I love that it's like arm, leg, head. Just the torso is gone. Just the torso is gone. Damn, that was a oddly specific rocket launcher. That's crazy.
A happy ending ahead of them.
Yay, they can finally leave. The mansion freaking explodes. Yippee! I will still never get this. Chris's pants are blue, and they're like, this is not the outfit he was wearing in game. It's just not what he was wearing in game. And then there's just Rebecca sleeping. Where's Barry? Barry? Where's Barry? He's probably... No. Launcher's code name is Pectoral Punisher. I like that. That's funny. New than the initial cutscene, I think. Well, I don't know. You got me on that one. Couldn't afford green pants. I think they're
multiple
gray.
outcomes for the end of the game that depend on what choices we make throughout the game.
Yeah.
By making various choices with Rebecca, she can actually die in a variety of ways.
Oh, yeah. I think we talked about this before, too. Because Rebecca and Jill will join you in that final fight. And they can both die in the fight as well.
She will then not be present in this final scene. We can also get the worst ending, not saving either of the girls and just leaving Chris to have a lonely helicopter ride.
Which is always really funny.
These variations are present with Jill's side of the story as well, which we should probably talk about now.
By
Jill's
TK
intro
Tiger.
is largely identical to Chris's. That is until we get to the mansion. Instead of Chris, Jill, and Wesker being present when they get in the house, it's Jill, Wesker, and Barry Burton. They're looking for Chris, who has already arrived in the mansion but quickly has gone missing. They hear shots in the distance, and Wesker sends Barry and Jill to investigate.
And then this always blows my mind, too, because, like, again, the opening cutscene is the four of them busting in. And then it's like, how did Chris or Barry disappear that quickly? You know? It's just crazy. I hope that we eventually get an RE1 remake that kind of covers this, because the canon is that both Rebecca and Barry live, as do Jill and Chris, because Barry shows up in other games and Rebecca shows up in some of the CG movies, which are canon. They ran very fast. There you go.
Blood nearby, and Jill ends up discovering the monster eating Kenneth. Luckily, Barry helps us with the monster and kills it without us having to waste any ammo.
I also love this because this happens in Remake as well. Barry's gun is the most powerful gun in the game. It is more powerful than the standard Magnum. This zombie takes 3 shots to kill. This zombie is a trucker. He just has so much health. It is so funny. I hope this isn't Chris's blood.
Jill's playthrough is actually far easier than Chris's and could just be straight up described as the easy mode.
That's always what I
first
say.
Game that technically doesn't have a difficulty setting.
Yeah.
This is for
Jill is definitely easy mode because she gets 2 extra inventory slots. She gets the lockpick, so she doesn't have to worry about the small key thing that Chris has. And then she also gets the grenade launcher, which is a unique weapon to Jill that has its own ammo and is incredibly powerful.
Few reasons. One is because Barry helps us quite a lot.
Oh, he does.
Throughout
Lots of ammo from Barry.
the playthrough.
Oh, also early shotgun from Barry.
Another is that Jill
And Magnum from Barry, I think, as well, if he dies.
gets access to various weapons earlier on, and also has the grenade launcher towards the beginning of the game.
Grenade launcher,
which
there you
I'm
go.
sure you can imagine is very effective at taking down all manner of beasts.
Everything.
She also gets 2 extra inventory.
It's especially
slots,
effective
which
against
makes
living
a hell of
beings.
a difference when picking up items and managing the things on your person.
Hey, Princess Nero. Hey, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everybody, over on the Twitch side. My name's Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I am a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting, and I love working out, in case you couldn't tell. Welcome in. We are reacting to your favorite son's Resident Evil retrospective. I reached out to the YouTuber themselves and made sure that it was okay to react to their content, and I love Resident Evil. It's one of my favorite franchises, and as I am now going through the games again, in hope or possible anticipation for, you know, a Resident Evil game being announced soon, we're just going to go back through the franchise and experience it and share the passion. So I hope you enjoy. We're getting closer to the end of the video, but we're basically pausing and talking about it every chance we get. So hi, I hope you had a great stream. Welcome.
It does seem like Jill can take slightly less hits than Chris.
She can. So Jill does have less health than Chris. Chris has, like, I think the joke or the comparison was like Jill has 160 health. Chris has 200 health, I think, is like the idea. I might be wrong in the specific numbers, but Chris does definitely have more health than Jill.
But ultimately, it becomes a much easier experience overall. After the two deal with the zombie and head back into the main hall, they find
not many
Wesker
other
to be missing.
differences.
The two decide to search for their new missing team member, and Jill gets a lockpick. This also makes
Here,
the play
use this.
infinitely easier because a
It'd
lot
be
of the
better if
doors that
you,
required keys
the master
previously,
of unlocking,
can now just
uses
be
it.
unlocked natively. And why does Jill get a lockpick and Chris gets nothing? Well, because she's the master of unlocking.
Yeah.
Silly.
Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
The master of unlocking, guys. There you go.
General beats of most of the story are relatively still the same. We still have to play the piano, which Jill can do herself instead of needing Rebecca to do it for her.
If we play RE2, you're going to play the original or remake or both. Probably both. I would probably do one campaign in RE2 and then another campaign in RE2 remake. What I'm thinking right now is Claire A in RE2 original and then Leon B in RE2 remake. Just to kind of keep it interesting, keep it fancy. You know what I mean?
We still have to complete many of the same puzzles and hit the same notes overall. The main and obvious difference here is that we're working through this mansion with Barry instead of Rebecca.
Yep.
Big downgrade, if you ask me.
Whoa, Barry Burton is amazing, okay? Barry Burton's a loving father, has an awesome magnum, gives you tons of ammo, gives you a lockpick, stops you from becoming a Jill sandwich.
Barry isn't that bad of a character, and I actually do think he develops a bit more over the course of the story, rather than Rebecca, who stays pretty flat most of the time.
Yeah.
Barry is also a lot more present in Jill's story than Rebecca was in Chris's. Rebecca pops up a few times
Leon A
here and, there,
and Claire
but it
B
seems
when
like
I played
Barry is just
RE2 remake.
always around.
I think canon is Claire A, Leon B. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong, though.
He's there with us for the intro. He appears when we find Forrest's body on the balcony. He appears when we solve a puzzle in the researcher's room of the mansion. One of the big differences in Jill's story is that Richard is still alive when we reach the yawn fight. We can run and take the serum to him, but he dies anyway.
I should have had serum.
So I guess
Ouch.
it isn't such a big difference after all. When Jill eventually gets to the guardhouse,
This place has
she overhears
terrible
Barry talking
monsters.
to someone in one of the rooms. Her suspicions are raised, but when she confronts him about this, he just says that he's starting to lose it and must have been talking to himself. This, of course, raises
Going
the player's
senile.
suspicions about Barry, but Jill just thinks Barry is going a little nutty. There's no way that he could be working for the other side and trying to thwart our
Yeah.
Nah, Barry's just a wacky guy. Jill also has a fight against Plant 42, but instead of getting captured by the thing and needing her companion to come help her, she can just make the V-jolt herself and defeat the thing alone.
Yeah, but then doesn't she still get grabbed and Barry comes in with a flamethrower, or is that remake only?
She meets
we'll find
Wesker
out.
in the same
Oh,
way
I
that
guess
Chris
it is
does after
remake
finding the
only.
plant, and heads back to the mansion. Jill beats Jan and eventually gets access to the underground where she meets Enrico. Enrico doesn't suspect Jill is the traitor, though. He tries.
That still blows my mind. Like, what made him jump to Chris? And like, we'll never know. Like, this never gets answered. But like, what makes Enrico jump to thinking that Chris is the traitor, but that Jill isn't? You know what I mean? I never got that.
To tell them about the mole in their operation, but
I think Chris looks kind of dumb as Rebecca does all the science and piano stuff. Yeah, that's what I was saying before too.
I'd also like to quickly note here that it is genuinely sad when one of your companions dies. Like I said before, if you make the wrong choices, your partner just won't make it through to the end, affecting which sequence you get at the finale. But seeing them succumb to the mansion is just a really harrowing ordeal, especially because there really isn't a way to get them back without reloading or starting over.
Yeah, and a big part especially is like watching them die is usually really rough because it's like, you know, getting attacked by a monster. I think Rebecca literally gets decapitated by one of the hunters, and Chris just like falls to the ground like crying that he couldn't save her. And it's pretty violent.
Barry in particular uses his dying words to make sure that his family is all right, and even gives us a photo of them. It's brutal. Aww. She eventually gains access to the lab.
Yeah, back when Barry still had 2 daughters.
And finds Chris, who is now placed in the cell instead of her, and promises to get him out. When we get to the final confrontation, Barry reveals that the strange things he's been up to have not come from the source of his wacky brain, but
wacky
Wesker's
brain.
machinations. Wesker has been
He's just being a little silly. He's just being a little
threatening his
goofy.
family if he didn't help out his plans. So Barry is a bit more three-dimensional here than we originally thought.
Yeah.
He isn't someone who is necessarily plotting against us because he's in on the whole thing with the bad guys. He's just trying to save his family.
Which I always really liked. I know a lot of like his first like word that he used about Barry was liar. And I'm like, I don't know. Barry to me is like father, or like, if anything, trustworthy because of what like happens through the game. I trust him more because we have this betrayal, and then he's like, I did it for my family, and then ends up betraying Wesker anyway. You know, victim might be a good way of saying it too.
And Wesker is actually killed by him in this side of the game,
yeah,
instead of being killed by the tyrant. I do think this ruins Wesker's death a little bit more. I'd say that I like him being killed by the tyrant more than a death by Barry's gun. Barry ends up...
Oh, that's right. In Remake, he shoots Wesker, and then Wesker gets up and leaves, and that's in Remake.
Surviving the
Puppet,
fight, we
that's a good one
rescue
too.
Chris and have a similar
Puppet.
face-off with the tyrant on the helipad. If we rescue everyone, then Chris, Jill, and Barry all ride off into the sunset with a happy ending ahead of them. I would say that I probably enjoyed Jill's side of the game more than Chris's overall. Jill's side has the better story in a general sense. While I do like the characters of Chris Redfield and Rebecca Chambers more, they are basically just 2 do-gooders who want to save the world.
2 do-gooders trying to fight against the zombie apocalypse in this one mansion, and other monsters too.
It's 2 people just going, yeah, this is bad.
Yeah.
We should fix it.
We gotta
You're
fix
right,
it, guys.
This is bad. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
Which is certainly fun, but doesn't carry the depth that the other side does.
Yeah, because like you get to hear about like the good and evil of like Wesker's just a piece of shit, and then keeping Barry's family hostage, and that kind of story I think just blends better.
In Jill's side, our companion is double-crossing us, working for the other side, and ensuring that these beasts and mutations are kept under wraps.
It would have been really interesting too if Rebecca ended up being a traitor. I think that would have been cool.
He's working for Wesker, the big bad of this entry, but Barry
Better
is
that way.
ultimately redeemed when he decides to take Wesker out anyway.
Story recap going well.
Find out he was
We're
doing
close to the
things for
end.
the right reasons. The original Resident Evil game is a fantastic start to this long-running and incredibly in-depth series.
Very long franchise. Lot of main series games. We got 0 all the way up to 8, and then Revelations 1 and 2 as well. And I think that's it. So there's 11 main series games, and then there's like some spin-offs and like some side games that are technically canon but never get mentioned again. So I think that's it.
It does horror in the best
and Code
way
Veronica
that
as
you
well.
can do horror by not.
I
only
always forget
trying
that
to
Code Veronica isn't numbered because I'm always just like, yeah, that's part of it. And then it's like, oh, never mind.
actively scare the player, but letting fear and terror
Thank
become
you.
natural emotions. That
So
are
0 through 8 and
organically
Code Veronica,
produced
so
by the
10,
system
and then
the
2
players
spin-offs with
interface
Revelations that
Horror
are
grows
both
in this
canon.
game like a plant or a virus. It begins to take over the host until it's the only thing left. And the game,
I like
the
that.
developers nurture this fear over the course of the game to ensure that
Should
it
be 3,
stays
not
the
actual 3. I do
maximum
remember
for the
that.
length of the game's runtime.
I remember them talking about
It has
it.
its downsides, of course. The story is incredibly sparse in this entry, with only a handful of documents and cutscenes. The story just doesn't have much there overall, which is
It is funny looking back at it that it really didn't have that much. And I think like this game probably lived and died on its gameplay and like the identity of the game being like the controls and the fighting zombies and monsters. And it's kind of funny because like looking back, like we have so much more hindsight and more information as to what actually happened in the game. But yeah, there's really not that much in Resident Evil 1. Weird.
is fine for this type of thing when the atmosphere and horror were really the main focus. But it does bring
Never got a
it
remake
down
of the
few
Outbreak games.
notches.
I'm
The
sure
story
plenty of
that
people
is
want
there
that.
is
I think
also
that would be
pretty
super cool,
poorly
especially in today's day and
translated,
age.
so even
I think it
when
would
we
work
do
really
get a
well.
lot, it doesn't really punch.
If we get Outbreak remakes tomorrow during Sony's State of Play, I'll scream. I'll scream. That'd be dope. I think it'd be super freaking cool to have that as well. Go back to Raccoon City, do Outbreak, make it 4-player online co-op, and just go crazy with it. Yeah, we have a Sony State of Play that's like 40 minutes tomorrow. I think it's I don't know what time it is. It's at sometime tomorrow. Hi, Curious. I don't know if you were here before. I must have missed you, but thank you. Hi.
The ambiance of Resident Evil
The zombie
carries
elephant
the most
and the
weight,
Hunter
though.
Gammas.
The soundtrack
I guess those
is
are in
perfect for this
RE3 as
project.
well.
It feeds back into the control that the developers have over the player. Every track is masterfully crafted for the scene that is being set. The first floor mansion sound that plays as we walk around the ground level of this massive
yeah,
house
it's
is
the
probably going to be
clanking
stuck
of
in my
like your
head
feet.
forever. This is from hearing it so much, but it's also because the long droning noises reek of anticipation.
Yeah.
Not of anticipation in the items you might receive or finishing the game, but what's around the corner.
Yeah. Very much foreboding is probably like the best word to say. And we talked about how like the save theme is really good at giving that feeling of like you get a breath of like a sigh of relief. And then this is not that. This is the opposite. You're taking a gasp. You're like, oh, it could be there. What's gonna happen?
The Meeting Rebecca track feels like it's ripped straight from a JRPG. It's
probably.
light synths glitter across the speakers, ensuring that you know this is a friend. This is someone bright. This is help.
Yep. It really does kind of feel like a JRPG track. Now that they say that. A brief respite. I like that. That's good.
The underground track is so open and terrifying. It feels as if ancient creatures
yeah.
these noises, mouths open, pushing waves of audio at you.
RE1's like tracks are crazy. They really did. I think the RE1 original tracks are nuts good. And the basement theme is still one of my ones that I remember. The mansion basement from Director's Cut, not from DualShock Edition. But from like, it's just so good.
Thrumming and powerful. It tells us that we are in a place that we are not supposed to be.
Yeah, there's this one too. This is also a really good one. Very foreboding as
Resident
well.
Evil is great at communication with the player. It tells the player everything it needs to know, and it uses every medium it can to do this. Even the transition screens between rooms, the slowly
doors,
opening doors that hide the load times of the systems, evoke a feeling. It's
ironic because like we didn't end up needing to like keep hiding the load times, but like this became such an aesthetic that it was kept through 2 and 3 and Code Veronica as well. I think Code Veronica has this, and then back in 1 remake and 0.
A breath a moment. It properly communicates the feeling of opening a door. What is on the other side of that door? We don't know.
Let's find out.
But we're about to find out.
Yeah.
It's the fear of potential. The potential that there's 2 or 3 dangerous creatures that we'll have to fight.
It's like 3 hunters.
We're low on ammo.
NBD.
Or the potential that there's an empty room. where we
RE5,
might
eventual single player
relax
co-op.
and
I'd do
breathe.
it. Absolutely.
But these 3 to 4
I've done it
seconds
before.
in
I'll do it
between
again.
rooms gives us time.
Done it
to
before. I'll do it
prepare for
again.
that and stew on what could be.
Love RE5,
It's horror
especially
that is
co-op.
carefully and masterfully crafted
Damn, he's
to
on
meet the
danger.
player's needs, but also feels organic.
Oh, shit.
Like it has been grown rather than built from the ground up. But don't be
I'm in
fooled.
danger.
The developers of
Yeah, really.
Resident Evil are puppet masters.
They are.
They control the scene. They control the narrative, and you are a pawn. The game's
Ooh,
genius
puppet
lies in
master
its simplicity,
again.
though. It's very efficient.
Our son plays
very
dangerously.
tight
Yeah,
in
apparently so.
design. There's not a lot of fat here to be cut off. The word bloat and Resident Evil 1 would never be caught in the same room together, let alone the same planet.
I'm trying to think of like classic Resident Evil if there is much bloat. I think it just comes from like some backtracking and some cutscene stuff. Like maybe RE3 going through the park. Or like Carlos in the hospital. But even then, like those are iconic scenes now.
Because if anything, this game could
And they're,
have a
like,
bit more
important, and
added
I
to it
like them.
and work just fine. And it wouldn't really
OG
be
have a
fair
rank
to
system.
talk
I don't
about
think
Resident
original
Evil
did, but
1
2 I think
without
did.
talking about its legendary remake.
Please do co-op, you'll hate yourself less. Oh, I've played Resident Evil
After
5 a
few
ton of
years
times.
Porting the game to different systems,
Tons
releasing
and tons
a few
of
more
times.
main entries and spin-offs, Resident Evil 1 would be officially remade.
So
The
good.
Resident Evil remake was released for GameCube systems on March 22nd, 2002 in Japan,
So good.
April 30th, 2002 in
close to
North
my
America,
birthday.
September 13th, 2002 in the EU, and September 20th, 2002 in Australia.
Resident Evil Remake, still to this day, one of the greatest Resident Evil games of all time. One of the greatest horror and survival horror games of all time. And still holds up to this day. A game made in 2002 is still amazing. And has a good Steam port.
The game was later ported to the Wii in 2008 and eventually remastered for near all systems in 2014 and 2015.
2002 crumbles
For
into
this-
dust. It's still so crazy to me to go from Resident Evil 1 in 1996, RE1 came out, to this just 6 years later. That is mind-boggling how much of a difference it is. It is one console generation. It's wild.
This review, I played the remastered version of the remake that was released on Steam.
Good
This
pick.
version is effectively the same as the original, and the only difference that I could really find was that the original GameCube version had slightly different lighting in the backgrounds. Regardless, Resident Evil Remake is
How much
one
technology
of the
progressed
best
between the original and
remakes that
remake?
I have
True.
ever played.
Guess our remake
and I
upped
don't
the
say
ante.
that lightly. I generally
remake
don't
pull 3 for
enjoy
3.
remakes.
I
I
hope.
think that remakes are a last resort if an audience genuinely wants to play a game, but the original version is so inaccessible to them that it must be done.
So one of the reasons I heard that they did this was because Capcom had an agreement with Nintendo that they would make 3 main series Resident Evils exclusive to the GameCube. And they were working on Resident Evil 4 already. And when they were working on it, it got scrapped and then turned into Devil May Cry. And then another piece of it got turned into, I believe, Haunting Grounds. So they needed time to wait for Resident Evil 4 to come out, because Resident Evil 4 didn't come out until, I think, 2005? Or 2004, maybe. So they did RE1 and RE0 using pieces that they had left over from the N64 concept of Resident Evil 0. And that's what I remember hearing. I don't know how accurate that is. It's just like stuff you hear reading magazines growing up and things like that, you know?
Most games that are made
And
do
still
not
doing
actually
pre-rendered
need
backgrounds, yeah.
remakes, and those remakes that do get made end up feeling like a downgrade of the original project. The Resident Evil remake is the only remake I've ever played that I felt was genuinely faithful to the original game.
So good.
And took liberties to update the design where it could.
Was Onimusha part of the RE4 mix? I don't think so, because Onimusha was PS2. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't think the timing matches up for it to have been like split off. It may have been, but like when I think of like the action aspects and like the demon aspects of RE4 that were split off, it's Devil May Cry. It could have been just ideas though. Absolutely, but yeah. Capcom wanted to make RE4 a Wii exclusive. I think they still had the contract with the GameCube though, and they had to push it to GameCube. And then eventually it came out on PS2 as well.
It is actually one of the better survival horror games that I have ever played.
Yeah.
So what exactly has changed?
So
well,
good,
first
dude.
of all, though,
Look at this establishing shot of like how ominous the mansion is too. God, this art style was so pretty back then. It still looks great now, you know? Wild.
the remake completely overhauls the graphics of the original game, bringing it in line with 6th generation consoles. And it looks insane. Even with the GameCube non-remastered version of the game that came out
still
in
looks great.
2002, it looks like this game came out a few years ago. Even in the
I don't know about a few years ago, but I still think it looks great.
2015 version, it looks like it came out a few years ago, and it's almost a decade old. There's proper lighting in the mansion now, the textures look fantastic, everything is beautiful.
Fantastic version.
But the remake also greatly redesigns the mansion as a whole. It keeps the general layout, but adds new rooms, adds interconnectivity, and changes things around, making this whole thing feel fresh.
I especially like them removing stair loading screens because it makes them feel bigger and connected.
The game has the same bones as the original, the same foundation.
Yeah.
But where the original game felt like a 2-story home in a cul-de-sac, the remake feels like a McMansion.
A
McMansion. The way
McMansion.
that we go about things has changed around as well.
I like
There's
that.
more scenes overall. The story is extended a bit, and things are given proper context.
Yeah.
Rebecca, for example, is characterized much better and plays her role as a medic rather than just sort of helping out where she can. The performances are all redone as well, which leaves the game feeling more like a full project rather than a mistranslated mess.
Though, also worth saying, and this is still something that's like my biggest gripe with Resident Evil 1 remake, and that its relationship with Resident Evil 0 is like non-existent, because Resident Evil 0 came out around the same time as remake. It came out like a year later, I think. Resident Evil 0 came out also in 2002, so the same year as remake, and it means that they were in development at the same time. And it just feels like there would have been a nice line to mention being like, I've dealt with these zombies before. You're going to want to do these types of things. And she doesn't like mention any of that. And it feels like a lot of her character kind of gets lost in the development she got in 0, coming from 0 to this game. Because she goes from one nightmare right to the other with like 0 rest time. None whatsoever. So
the game starts to feel like it has a genuine and real story behind
big
it.
face model for Rebecca.
We'll talk about how the story
for
has changed
remaking
in a
0, didn't
moment,
she?
but let's go
Did she?
quickly over the gameplay differences.
I don't know that much.
While Resident Evil 1 was
0, I know like nothing on the behind the scenes. I kind of want to play it again because like I only cleared the train, so it would be an interesting like, oh, this is my first actual experience with 0, you know.
Slightly difficult.
And your favorite son does have a video on it, so
remake has upped the difficulty quite a bit in making the game a new experience. It does have difficulty.
RE1 remake, now knowing his face model is Len from Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, isn't it? Yeah.
To be, but taking into account the difficulty settings in something like the director's cut, it's definitely harder. This is primarily due to the new additions in the mechanics department.
Yeah.
We're notified by a note at the beginning of the game that the only
disposal
way
of bodies. It is. I did hear about that. I've never seen like an official report, but
and while you may read this,
people tell me things, I'll just believe it.
Information with a gruff, I know what I'm doing. If you've only played Resident Evil 1, then trust me, you definitely do not know what you're doing.
No,
Defeating zombies is
not.
now not as simple as shooting them over and over until they fall to the ground and ooze out a pool of blood. You must now literally destroy their head or burn their body. Destroying their head can be done with a shotgun like in the original, and you can even get lucky with the pistol.
Yep.
But these seem to happen far less.
Yeah, I was literally just complaining about this, that the shotgun headshots feel so inconsistent.
You can burn the bodies as well by carrying a flask on you with kerosene inside. This flask only takes 2 charges though and must be filled in safe rooms. Also, if you're using Chris, then you have a permanent lighter that doesn't take an inventory slot. If you're playing
Which
as
is
Jill,
super
though,
convenient.
then carrying around a lighter and flask can be quite cumbersome.
It is also something I really like as a change, because where Jill got the lockpick for free and also had the 2 extra inventory slots and got the grenade launcher, it really did feel like Chris was just like, well, what do I have? Health? Cool. Great.
This in and of itself doesn't seem like that big of a deal. So what if the zombies come back to life after I take them out? I can always just avoid them, right? Well, in our remake, it's not that simple. These bodies, if left unattended to, will turn into Crimson Heads. Crimson Heads are a different kind of zombie that are much faster, much tankier, and much more dangerous. It is a huge pain in the ass to even fight one of these things, and will probably cost you a decent amount of health items and ammo.
Ooh, he just runs back into it. I was like holding my breath. I was like, how is he going to deal with this? I love Crimson Heads. And it kind of already explained it, but yeah, it's quite literally, if you kill zombies in certain areas, in certain rooms, zombies will eventually just come back to life. And when they come back as these fuckers.
And will probably cost you a decent amount of health items and ammo.
And they can run. They've got these claws. They are aggressive. The only thing that makes me a little disappointed about Crimson Heads is that once you go to the guardhouse and you come back from the guardhouse and the hunters come, if you left zombie corpses or Crimson Heads in any rooms and now have hunters in them, you just never have to deal with those Crimson Heads. So, and once you know that, it kind of feels almost like a cheat code, because it's like, oh, well, now I don't have to worry about the fact that I killed all these. I don't have to go back and, burn their bodies or anything like that. So it's, oh, now I just have to deal with a hunter. Like one hunter as opposed to like 3 Crimson Heads in one room. So
that you don't need to spend. So it's definitely in your best interest to avoid creating more of them at all costs, because when you get one and you don't deal with it, that room just becomes a place that you don't want to return to anymore. You might
also, zombie lunging animations made it way easier to dodge things. So you could bait lunges and actually feel like you were good at dodging.
Might be plotting out.
I love
route
doing
and
that.
You'll go, oh no, I have to go through there. There's a Crimson Head in there. And suddenly you have to plan around it. It becomes another element that you have to think about. I
love it.
You have to plan for, that you have to deal with. Resident Evil Remake levels out the playing field for the increased difficulty a bit by giving us defensive items. These are items that don't take up any inventory space, but when equipped, will be automatically used to defend ourselves against attacking foes. I
loved the addition to defensive items, because RE1 Remake is just harder. So having the defensive items, especially, just feels like it just helps. And when you're taking corners, it feels not less scary, but less punishing for wanting to explore.
If a zombie was about to take a juicy bite out of our human skin, and we have a dagger equipped, for example, then we would take no damage and Chris would stab it in the head. This usually isn't enough to kill the thing on its own, though, and will require some more firepower.
See how crazy that Crimson Head's moving around?
Chris also has access to flashbangs, which he will shove instinctively into the mouths of the zombies, and shooting them will result in a head explosion, ensuring no Crimson Heads here.
Very convenient. Little bit inconsistent though, because you have to still shoot it. And Jill's other defensive item, aside from the dagger, is a stun gun, which does more damage than the dagger and leaves them kind of incapacitated for slightly longer. So it's like, they're both good. I think the flashbangs are probably better, but it's hard to say.
Obviously, these defensive items are finite, and using them at distinct points is incredibly important. All of these things, including the fact that the mansion has been expanded to include new areas and puzzles, add depth.
Oh,
to
damn,
the
he was in
original game.
danger.
It removes the advantage of simplicity
I see
the
that
first
red.
game had by taking new chances, but those chances pay off well.
Damn.
The game also makes quite a bit of changes to the story of the original game, but it does
it?
so in the most faithful of ways. One of the biggest additions to our remake is the Trevor family. Throughout the course of the
Oh, okay. That's true.
game,
That's
you
fair.
will find notes from
That's fair.
George Trevor.
I forgot that
a
they weren't
New
like
York
in the
architect.
game at all.
Trevor was hired by Oswell E. Spencer, the owner of the mansion that the game takes place in. He built the mansion for Spencer and filled the place with traps and puzzles to deter invaders, which in a weird roundabout way kind of explains the puzzles that we solve throughout the game.
Exactly. And seeing all those documents and those like notes and diary entries and things like that from Trevor being like, I wonder why this weird guy had me, build all this crap for him. He's so like paranoid. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's kind of funny.
It's sort of like a 14-year-old's idea of a mansion. When you're a kid, you think someday you'll become a millionaire and build obstacle courses that people have to solve to get in their house. We eventually learn that Trevor's family was kidnapped, assumingly by Umbrella, and experimented upon. His wife was killed in the experiments, but his daughter, Lisa Trevor, was not given the mercy of death. Umbrella's experiments turned her into a monster that still dwells on the premises today. We encounter her at various points throughout the game, and eventually fight her in a boss battle with either Wesker or Barry, depending on whose side of the story we're playing. It's a terribly tragic story overall, and seeing Lisa hurl herself into a chasm with her mother's skull at the end of the fight is just heartbreaking.
It is, and as you read the diary entries too, it is also very much a oh man, because she's wearing her mom's like ripped off skin as like a mask face kind of thing. But she is so infected by the T virus that she can't die. It is a very tragic story, but it perfectly encapsulates how much of a monster Umbrella is as an entity. So I really like it for that reason. Ironically, found this out during one of my casual playthroughs, going back through Remake. You can beat Lisa by just shooting her off the edge, and she's just gone. Yeah. Remember, not her mom, but a researcher they dressed up to look like her to try and trick Lisa. Well, that too. Eventually, Lisa goes to try and find her mom. And I think this is her what's it called? I'm pretty sure this is her mom's like actual like tomb. Yeah. Makes you hate Umbrella more on a personal level.
Terrifying position where we actually empathize with the thing that is trying to kill us. These additions add a significant chunk of substance to the game and actually makes the story feel fuller than it did before.
Yeah.
Rebecca and Barry are both fleshed out more as characters too. Barry's arc, while good in the original, is lended more credibility here. Barry is seen as a bit more sympathetic by the end of the story.
Yeah, because again, it's the relationship with his family, and he's like, I'm doing this so my family can survive. Please understand.
The tyrant ends up delivering the final blow on Wesker, giving Barry his retribution, but also giving Wesker the comeuppance he got on Chris's side of the original tale.
Yep.
Rebecca is no longer just a happy-go-lucky young member of Bravo team.
Yeah.
She's layered, she's stressed, and she's hiding that with an enthusiasm. The weight of this world and the situations at hand are weighing on her, but she puts on a brave face for those around her.
That's my bitch.
I hate it here. I knew it was coming, dude.
Wesker's motivations are also a bit more clear, that he was puppeteering the STARS members and he only gave them up because the virus got out. The game is still very goofy though, and pays great homage to the original game. It never takes itself too seriously and plays into the whole B-movie aesthetic that the first game had.
Absolutely,
and the
it
game's
does.
Story overall just hits those same beats that it did before.
I think that's why Remake feels so good and faithful, because even though it air quotes cleans up a lot of the campy dialogue, there's still so much camp in RE1 Remake, but it's like the good camp that you like. It doesn't take you out of the horror. It doesn't take you out of the scene. It's like these are things I can imagine someone saying in this situation, you know?
We generally fight the same bosses, find things out in the same places, eventually destroy the tyrant on the roof of the building, and fly off into the sunset. Resident Evil
Can't help but
Remake
smile.
is a remake that genuinely
I will point out, I wish Wesker had like big fuck you aviator glasses, because I think he kind of did in original, unless I'm just misremembering them being like cartoonishly large. I thought they were like basically aviators, but because like these just seem kind of like he's just wearing dark glasses, you know. But yeah,
first game. It understands what worked about that game and doesn't try to change it, but to fix the mistakes that were made originally. While I wouldn't recommend that every single person watching this video go play the original Resident Evil or even the director's cut, I would recommend that you go play the Resident Evil remake.
Yeah, I think remake, even to this day, and judging by what your favorite son is saying, it's the definitive way to play Resident Evil, especially if you are seeing a lot of people recently play things like RE2 remake, RE3 remake, RE4 remake, RE7, RE8, and like really want a place to jump in for like the beginning of the franchise. RE1 remake is super accessible. It's on Steam. It's on every modern console. Like, go play it. Very good game. Very, very fun. Very well aged.
If you are at all a fan of survival horror, it will not disappoint in the slightest.
Yeah, it's so good. Explosions!
It is quite easy to get lost in the legacy of Resident Evil, to look at the game for what it has become rather than what it is. The game is incredibly simple when taking an overview perspective.
I mean, it is.
You run around a house, shoot zombies.
Really wanted to play the original, the trilogy's on GOG. It is.
But the things that we do,
I do plan on playing 2 and 3 from there.
Experience. It isn't in the mechanics that are here or light story.
I promise.
It's in the execution of these things.
Yeah, it's great.
How the mechanics are implemented.
It's great in that
how
regard.
They are combined with the design of the mansion. It's how the mansion twists back into the horror. And I keep coming back to this point, but horror finagles its way into every part of this game. Surprisingly, Resident Evil 1 isn't that scary.
No, it's really not.
Seem counterintuitive, but
unless you're me and you get jump scared by a hunter that you didn't know was in a room and it jumps at you from off screen and you almost die because of it.
I would say that the remake is a genuinely scary game, while the original Resident Evil is anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, that's more accurate.
There's fear there, but it manifests as tension. And there's a lot to not like about Resident Evil, especially if we're talking about the original version of the game.
That
the
I do
load times between rooms.
He ran you down. He really did.
Experience can be quite a bit clunky and seem unfair at times, and its story leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
It's a fun ride, but not quite an impactful one outside of its mechanics.
It is fun looking back at it in a bubble, though, because Resident Evil 1 obviously came out in 1996. And that's why I'm always saying, like, as much as classic RE1 is so important to gaming as a whole, if you want the Resident Evil experience at the beginning of the franchise, play Resident Evil Remake. Just play 1 remake. It is peak game. It is one of the best, if not the best, Resident Evil game that's ever been made. It is aged like a fine wine. It still holds up to this day. It's super accessible on everything, and it's just worth playing.
It is very much carried by the design of its systems. The menus, the items, the way that we use them, the balance, all of these things end up carrying the game to be something more than the rest of it. And the original Resident Evil does have something that the remake doesn't. And that is something a bit harder to put your finger on. It's just a general feel. The atmosphere and vibe of the original Resident Evil is unmatched by the remake.
I mean, I could say the same thing about remake to original, though. Like, they're 2 games from 2 different generations. I don't know if I agree with this statement. I understand where they're coming from, but I'm like, I don't agree with you.
It's not something that you probably ever point out or be upset at its removal, but it is gone. The original just has a feeling that's very hard to match. Maybe it's the overlit mansion. Maybe it's the pre-rendered backgrounds. Maybe it's the...
They're still pre-rendered in remake! What do you mean?
models. Maybe it's the sound effects or the awful performances.
Oh,
it's
okay, that's
probably
fair.
some combination of all of these, and
You
the
know?
lack of this in the remake is not a negative mark. It's not something easily replicated. So difficult, in fact, that they were probably better off not trying.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what they made without it.
True.
But in a boxing match between the original Resident Evil and its remake, hey, at least it gets one round.
That's funny. I think that's a fair statement. Okay, I see where you're
Resident
coming
Evil
from
was
now.
positively received by critics on release, most praising its sound design, horror, and mechanics, and it was even better received by audiences. The game was a bestseller in just about every region it released.
Absolutely.
By the end of 1997, the game had sold somewhere around 4 million copies. This reception would cause Capcom to return to the series time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
And would create one of the largest franchises in gaming.
Which is crazy.
We'll talk about that next time. Bye now.
Crazy. Great video. Great job. Loved that. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already to your favorite son. So we're going to go back to the club real quick. And we're going to yap a little bit. Shibba-da-whoop. Yap a little bit. We're gonna do our little bit of yapping, you know. Shkapow! But yeah, that was an awesome video. I'm really glad to get some of the insight that we got there that I may not have been super familiar with prior. I had a lot of fun with that. I genuinely really enjoyed that, and yeah, I'm happy that we finally got to sit down and kind of enjoy it and kind of just, I don't know, have some fun with the original Resident Evil. You know what I mean? Because like, I feel like it's been a while since I've tried to like go back and just enjoy Resident Evil as a franchise, and it is genuinely one of my favorite franchises of all time. And I'm really glad to be able to share that with you guys, because I love the franchise, and we're gonna keep playing through the games and kind of enjoying them, you know, and kind of just jumping in and having fun and everything like that. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. I do have someone that we can raid on the YouTube side. Someone I don't think I like ever get to raid. I'm surprised they're even live right now. Let me make sure I can raid them before I say who they are. I can, good. Because sometimes it doesn't let me raid certain people. Okay, cool. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for this yap session and this reaction to the Resident Evil retrospective. I'm glad we got our first one done, and we will definitely be doing more in the future. So if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, leaving a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, smack that follow button and come join the Discord. We're probably going to be doing more watch parties, more games there, and having a good time. So definitely look forward to it. And in the meantime, I will be back on Thursday. This Thursday, we are going to be playing Super Mario Sunshine. So we're finally moving away from zombies because we had 2 days of zombies in a row. Now, I have played Super Mario Sunshine before. I don't think I've ever 100%ed it. And it has been a long time since I have played Super Mario Sunshine. I don't think we're going for 100%, but considering it's summer, I figure why not? Let's jump in, let's have some fun, and let's get some flood going. Okay? That'll be fun. And then Friday, we're making a pan cake for Pride Month. So that'll be fun. Yippee! All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and raid into Ryzar from FSP's second generation Ravanis. So let's go send him some hype and some love over on the YouTube side. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate all the support, and I will see you again on Thursday and probably tomorrow. I'll probably be hanging out in Discord tomorrow. So, bye-bye!